Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Open Mic. Now, what is Open Mic? You see, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we save some time and take live questions. But here on the weekends on Open Mic, that's all we do, just live questions, start to finish. That's what we're doing here today. And listen, guys, this is my last show for the next couple of days from the home studio. I am, as soon as I'm done the show today, I'm heading over to the airport and I'm flying to Vegas for CinemaCon, and I'll be doing videos from CinemaCon. Now, look, just so you're aware, my videos aren't going to look as good. They're not going to sound as good because I'm going to be doing it from a hotel room in Vegas. You understand, of course, and I can't testify to how good or bad the internet service will be in that room. I also can't testify how good or bad my laptop's going to handle all that kind of stuff. I'm going to be doing my best. And guys, I'm going to be bringing you reports of all the major movie studios are doing big 2-hour presentations, including Universal, Paramount, Warner Brothers, STX is doing a big presentation. Disney is doing a big 2-hour presentation. For all the movie theater owners, they always show us great, like 10, 15-minute clips of all the upcoming movies, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to be giving you reports on what they're showing and all that kind of stuff. They're also doing some secret screenings. I don't think Avengers Endgame is going to be one of them. I was really hoping Avengers Endgame was going to be Disney's secret screening. Doesn't look like it, and that's fine, whatever. I'll see it in a few weeks like everybody else. But I'm very excited about CinemaCon, and I'm going to be doing my stuff from there. So, without wasting any time here, guys, let's dive right in to our open mic questions. You guys have already been firing in a bunch of questions, so let's dive into it right now. And the first question we're going to start with is Curtis Lopez, who writes, AMC just listed showtimes for Endgame, but you can't buy tickets yet. On sale soon, probably April 2nd. Yeah, there's been a report going around for a while that April 2nd was actually going to be the day, and I saw the document that suggested that. And look, I don't know 100% for sure if it was legit, but all I could tell you is that it looked very legit. Like, it looked like a document, an unofficial AMC document that said April 2nd. So I'm kind of believing it will be April 2nd. So let's see if that holds up. All right, Curtis Lopez also writes, also check out this video channel called Grizzly Productions Made. It's a mashup of the Endgame trailer and What's Up Danger. That sounds fun. I will have to try to check that out. I was just listening. I was just in the shower earlier and I put on What's Up Danger. So it's just funny you mentioned that because I was just listening to that song, Curtis. All right, Alex Pitt writes, it's my birthday today. Happy birthday, Alex. 23. Thanks for all of the great content and for keeping me entertained every day of the year. Keep it up, brother. Well, thank you very much, Alex, and I hope you have a great birthday. We just celebrated Anne's birthday yesterday, even though her birthday is not for a couple of days, but we just did our big celebration last night, had a good time, and I hope you have a great day today, Alex, spent with friends, family, doing whatever it is you love to do. And thanks for being here and joining the part of the movie discussion as well, Alex. All right. Murray Reich writes, why isn't there any complaints from folks that Oliver Queen has also killed bad guys all series long, but when it's Batman, nope, he's exempt? Okay, so here's the thing, Murray. It's not that there are people who think no superhero should kill. Although I'm sure there are some people that probably believe that. I'm sure there are some people who believe no superheroes could kill. But the majority of people who are having this debate are people who just very firmly believe Batman shouldn't kill. Now, some of them base it on an erroneous assumption that in the comic books, Batman has a 100% ironclad rule he never kills, which is BS. And as a matter of fact, and they said no other movie says he killed. Well, actually, Mr. Sunday Movies just put up a great video showing the body count of all 40 plus people Batman has killed in the Batman movies, not including Ben Affleck's Batman, not including Ben Affleck's Batman. These are 40 plus people that Batman has killed over the course of the original Batman films, of the Dark Knight films, on and on and on. Batman kills in the movies, but it's also based on this erroneous assumption that he never kills in the comic books. Yes, he does, and he has. Look, here, let me just pull this. I only pull this up because I actually put this on my Instagram last night, so I've got it right here. Let me pull it over here. Okay, give me a second. This one page of comic book panel should end any discussion about whether or not Batman kills, okay? This is Batman talking to Jason Todd, okay? And he says, I'm not a murderer, son. That is a line we must not cross. And then Jason says, but you've killed before. And Batman says, in self-defense. Jason, you're well aware that we play a dangerous game, a game that perhaps I should not have involved you in. Sure, you should. And then Batman says, listen, son, if we're no better than the lice who snuff out human life like it's worth nothing at all, then, well, we're no better at all, blah, blah, blah. But get that first part. You've killed before. Well, yeah, in self-defense. So basically, this ends the discussion. There is no more discussion to be had. Batman in the comics has killed. In the comics, he says he's okay with killing in self-defense, like he was taking on 15 guys with machine guns who are going to put bullets in his face and kill him if he doesn't take them out. That's self-defense. Anyway, so let's end this ridiculous debate and discussion about whether or not Batman kills. Batman has killed plenty of times in the movies. He has killed in the comic books. There is precedent, multiple instances of precedents where it shows Batman killing, and discussions like this one where he acknowledges, yeah, I kill in self-defense. Now, we can still have a discussion and a debate about whether you think he should kill people. That's a debate we can still have. And we can still have the debate about whether or not, you think, I prefer the version of Batman where he never kills. Okay, we can have that discussion too. But it's time to end this discussion of stamp the feet, Batman never kills. Wrong. The movies have shown it. The comic books have shown it. Now, you can make, again, we can still have the debate about whether you think he should, about whether different iterations of Batman are the ones you prefer and you think that's the one they should have translated on the screen. Those are all valuable discussions to have and totally worthy of debate. But this whole notion that, period, end of sentence, no discussion, Batman never kills. Yes, he does. He does it plenty of times in the movies, and he's acknowledged multiple times in the comic books that, yes, he does. And you don't have to go back to the 1930s to find it. So anyway, that ends that discussion right then, right there. Now you can have the discussion about whether you want Batman to kill, but the discussion that Batman never kills, wrong. Yes, he does. There's your evidence. He's done it in the movies. He's done it in the comic books. End of discussion. Now let's continue on the debate on the level of whether you like him killing or not, whether you think a better Batman is one who does or does not kill. Those are all good debates to have. But it's time to end that one extreme debate. It's over. Anyway, okay, with that down and out of the way, Regan Crisp writes, what if John Campea took a different approach to what-if questions? Maybe answer them as if they were asking your thoughts and opinions on the situation they give. After all, I think it's really what they mean. But it's still, no, it's not legit. Look, you can say to me, and I brought this up before, John, what if that car was blue? Okay, but then the answer to what if the car was blue is, then the car is blue. Are you asking, does that mean they only made it blue to fit in with all the other cars? Are you asking, does that make the car more attractive? Are you asking, will that make it harder to find the car if it was underwater? Are you asking, does that make the car blend in more with the sky and maybe that means the car can fly? I mean, you don't just say what if. What if isn't a question. What if sets up a scenario. Now ask a question, because there's too many things you could mean or too many things you're asking me. What if Donald Glover, I'm trying to make something up. What if Donald Glover wore a pink shirt? Then he's wearing a pink shirt. Yes, but do you think that would look good? Oh, that's a question. What if Donald Glover wore a pink shirt? Do you think that would look good? That would be a question. What if Donald Glover wore a pink shirt? Do you think that would be him making a political statement? That's a question. What if Donald Glover wore a pink shirt? Do you think that means he's just run out of shirts of other colors? That's a good question. What if Donald Glover wore a pink shirt? Do you think that means he has no fashion sense? That would be a question. So no, just by asking what if and then putting a period, there's nothing there for me to answer. There's nothing there for me to answer. So, and look, the reason I'm hammering on this so much is because, remember, I used to get questions all the time, like multiple questions every single day. John, what do you think about X actor playing X role? And what it took was me for a number of weeks saying, guys, I really don't care about if X actor plays X role. All I care about is whether it's a good actor. That's really all I care about. If you're getting a good, talented actor, then I'm sure that whatever rendition of that character that the director has in mind means that this guy's a good fit, right? But it took me doing that for a number of weeks and a couple of months. And now I maybe get 1 or 2 of those questions a week. Instead of like 5 or 6 of those a day, I maybe get 1 or 2 of those a week because I, laid it out, guys, this is the thing. So I need to lay out again. Don't just ask, John, what if this movie comes out in October? And if this movie comes out in October, then that means the movie comes out in October. What's the question? Are you asking me, do I think that they did that to take advantage of the Halloween season? Are you asking me, do I think that'll give it a bigger box office? Are you asking me, do you think they put it there to avoid this other big blockbuster that was in another month? Because it could mean a million things. So, no, I need you to ask me a question. If you're going to write in a question that starts with, what if, then it's got to end with a question. What if, so you set your scenario. Now that you've set the scenario, follow it up with a question so I know what it is you're asking me to answer. It's important and it means something. So, and just like the whole X actor and X role, I got to kind of be consistent with it so everybody knows not to just send in a question that says, John, what if Ryan Gosling is right-handed? Okay, then he's right-handed. What's the question? You know what I'm saying? So, it's not hard. Just if you have a what if scenario question, just write the scenario and then write the question. It's very important. It's very important. All right, let's move on here. McDavid deserves better, right? Hey, Canley does. Can you recall any TV event that has come with nearly as much hype as Game of Thrones Season 8? Every Boston Pizza in Edmonton and several bars are screening it live. Yeah. I remember, look, when Battlestar Galactica was heading into its final season, and particularly was heading into its series finale, it was a big event. When MASH, again, it's a little before my time, but when MASH was finishing, the series finale of MASH was for a very long time the #1 watched broadcast in television history when they did their series finale. It's happened before, but this is going to be huge. I mean, Game of Thrones is such a pop cultural phenomenon. Like, it's nuts. And I actually thought there was a little bit of a chance that it's so big they might even put it in movie theaters, but that would have undermined a lot of things. So I get why they didn't do that. So, yeah, it's huge. I think there have been things as big. It's just difficult. Like, we're very much a what's happening right now kind of people. So we only think about things that are happening right now. But yeah, I think there has been but this is definitely amongst the biggest. There's no question. No question. It's definitely amongst the biggest. I'm not even a huge Game of Thrones fan, and I can't wait for this thing to start. And that says something. When even people who aren't the hardest of hardcore fans like me, I like the show very much, but I'm not a Game of Thrones hardcore fanatic, But even I am counting down the days until this thing. I think that says a lot. All right. Fun Boy writes, tell me about your worst date you had at the movies. Ooh. I don't know, man. Just going to the movies is always a good time. Even when it's a bad movie, going to the movies is a good time. I honestly don't think I can think of a bad date at the movies. I don't think I can think of one. I can think about dates that maybe went bad later on. That's something. I can think of later on when bad dates that went bad later on. But yeah, I can't think of maybe if I thought about it more, I have to think back over, my history of dating to think of one, but I can't think of one off the top of my head, Fun Boy. I guess I'm kind of lucky that way. ZOMG Ruler writes, ever think Batman Returns was too scary for kids? Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, I've always thought that. That was some pretty macabre stuff. It was very Tim Burton, but it was definitely some pretty macabre stuff. ZOMG Ruler writes, I hear the male equivalent to Mary Sue, I hear is Gary Stu. I guess that's one we could look. I only think there's ever, at least in movies right now, there is only one Mary Sue, or unless you want to call him Gary Stu, and that's Dominic Toretto, played by Vin Diesel in the Fast and Furious films. I still love him in it. I still love those movies, particularly 5, 6, and 7. Not so much 8, but 5, 6, and 7. I love Dominic Toretto in the role, and I love the character, and I love those movies. But a fair criticism is that Dominic Toretto is the ultimate embodiment of a Mary Sue. or if you want to call it Gary Stu. So you can call him either one of those if you wish. But yeah, he's the ultimate embodiment of that. IDK a name writes, Annabelle Comes Home has a trailer. What do you think? Haven't watched it yet. I heard it came out, but yesterday I was very busy. All that kind of stuff. Today I've been packing to go to Vegas and testing equipment that I need to bring with me to Vegas. So it's been pretty awesome. I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it yet, but I am curious to watch it. I'll let you know as soon as I do. Clay Woodley writes, Clay Woodley writes, do you think that Dom will die in Fast 10 if it's the last one? Speaking of Dominic Toretto, no. Dominic Toretto doesn't die. Dominic Toretto would fight the Grim Reaper with a monkey wrench and win. Dominic Toretto can take on the entire American armed forces with a toothpick and win. Dominic Toretto could have to only win the day by hacking the world's most advanced computer, and he would figure out a way to hack the world's most advanced computer in 20 seconds. So no, I don't think they're going to ever have Dominic Toretto die. Never. Markandale Productions just sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Markandale. Richard Karate writes, thoughts on the show Gotham. I'm currently binging the show. Got from seasons 1 through 3 in 2 days. But I love the portrayal of the Joker from Jerome. Thoughts? Well, I've talked about this a bunch, Richard. To me, Gotham is a very hit and miss show. I'm not a fan of the Joker stuff at all. The kid's good, but I'm not a fan of it. So, here's the thing. I've said this many times. I'll say it again. To me, Gotham worked when it was not trying to be Batman light. There's Batman, and then there's Batman light. To me, Gotham worked when it was about Jim Gordon trying to save his city, trying to save Gotham from crime and crime lords and stuff like that. And the odd little crossover character like the early days of Penguin as a lower level henchman in the mob circles, that was interesting. When the show was about Jim Gordon fighting crime, it was interesting and I really liked it. Unfortunately, they decided to also make the show Batman Light. Look, it's a Batman show just without Batman. But look, everybody, this kid becomes Batman. Ooh, look, he's wearing a cape now. He becomes Batman. The show's pathetic when it does that. And I really got turned off of that. And then they would do shows that just focused on Jim, and then I'd like those shows. So I'll be honest, I kind of tuned out at the end of last season. So I haven't watched any of the episodes this season because to me, the show was just becoming too much Batman light. And that's not what I liked about it. That's not what the show was meant to be when they created it. And they got away from their core roots and their core values. And yeah, to me, it's just, yeah, I just kind of gave up on it. Anyway, Aaron H. writes, debating if I should go to a 6 o'clock or 10 o'clock Dolby screening for Endgame. Not sure which will have the more packed and lively audience. Thoughts? Well, here's the thing, Aaron. If it's opening day, they're both going to be sold out in 10 minutes. Packed is not the question. Rowdy is not the question. I think it's safe to say, particularly if it's opening weekend, you are safe either way. If you're looking for a packed house that's going to be rowdy, you're safe either one. Now, if you're talking about 3 weeks after the movie opens, that becomes a different question. But if it's opening weekend, opening day, the first Friday, the first Saturday, the first Sunday, whatever, I think you're going to be plenty taken care of. If what you're looking for is a packed audience that's rowdy, you're going to be good either way, Aaron. Don't you worry about it. And I can't wait. KW Garrett writes, ever try Mark Ellis's popcorn and sour gummies mixed? I do not mix popcorn with anything. I think the first time I saw it, I told you I was with Clark Gregg, who plays Coulson in the MCU. I was with him at an AMC theater, and we go up and we get popcorn. He buys Raisinets and puts raisins in the popcorn. It's the first time I had ever seen such blasphemy. And I'm like, what are you doing? He looks at me like I was crazy. He goes, I'm putting raisins in my popcorn. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? He goes, you've never seen somebody put raisins in popcorn? I've never seen this. This is blowing my mind, and I think it's disgusting. He goes, oh, man, you don't know what you're missing. Anyway, that was the first time I'd ever seen anything. And I would almost rather have ketchup on eggs, than put anything with popcorn. Mark and Dale Production writes, a girl from work called in to watch March Madness. I believe it. I mean, look, I don't follow college hoops. But I mean, I keep half an eye on it because I'm a sports fan. But when it comes down to March Madness, like a lot of people, I get intrigued into it too. And especially if your alma mater is playing, it gets into the Elite Eight. They're getting down to the Final Four now. Yeah, I completely believe it, Mark. I completely believe it. And then Mark sends in another super chat to support the channel. Thank you so much, Mark. All right. Mishta47 writes, why the secrecy about when tickets for Endgame are available? Do they just like surprises? Also, hopefully in 2 days, I can buy mine. Yeah, I'm thinking 2 days. I'm thinking on Tuesday or tomorrow. Probably Tuesday or tomorrow, the tickets go on sale. Now, here's an interesting thing. Disney is doing their big 2-hour presentation at CinemaCon on Wednesday. That's April 3rd. I thought it was on Tuesday. It's not. It's actually on Wednesday. Disney's doing their big 2-hour, Alan Horn himself, the head of all Disney productions. Alan Horn is going to get on stage at CinemaCon, give a 2-hour presentation on all the movies coming out over the next year. So I think maybe there's a possibility that maybe tickets go on sale Wednesday and that they drop a brand new Endgame trailer at that presentation. I think, though, the odds are they're going to launch the tickets on the 2nd and probably drop a new trailer on the 2nd, but it might be the 3rd. Let's wait and see. Why they keep it, I don't know. I honestly don't know. They just like building anticipation around an event like this. It's probable. It's probable. All right, Ben Hayusa writes, I'm all for Annabelle Comes Home. Annabelle creation was really good, so I'm hyped for this one. Also, Mark Hamill is Chucky. Okay, that's perfect. I don't know if that's... To me, that seems a little shtickish. I love Mark Hamill, but I don't know if I like the idea of Mark Hamill doing Chucky. He seems like a little bit like a shtick. And I think Mark Hamill's better than that. But whatever. Maybe it'll be great. Maybe it won't. To be honest, I don't have that a lot of interest in Chucky anyway. I don't have a lot of interest in Chucky one way or the other. But Annabelle, first movie was terrible. Second movie, I thought was great. So I'm really curious to see what they do with this next one. Okay. Jay Meister 25 writes, do you think the MCU has reached the status of, Sonny, let me tell you, when I first saw those films, much like how parents tell their kids about Empire, it's impossible to say. Like, I keep saying this about it, but it's really true. The way pop culture evolves today is at a different rate and level than it used to. So I keep saying, when people try to ask me, what's our when we look back at the MCU and historically and put it in context and blah, 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 it's very difficult. It's a question you really have to ask 20 years from now. It's a question you got to ask 20 years from now. And the reality is it could go either way. 20 years, people might go, oh, yeah, that's right, those comic book films. Oh, yeah, I remember those. Or it could be they are still the standard. The Marvel films changed cinema. It could go either way. So, like, a lot of people ask me today to compare and say, how do you think historically, like, what the MCU is doing is going to compare to how Star Wars changed everything? And I say it's impossible to say. I can't say it'll under it or it'll over it. You can't say. You got to ask me in 20 years. And that's the only way we're really going to know. But we'll see. I mean, certainly what the MCU is doing right now is unprecedented in the sheer volume of movies they're putting out. And the fact that they're making so much money, the fact that, you know, for the most part, they're all audience loved and critic loved. And yeah, but as far as putting into historical context, we got to put a few more years between us and them now. So let's see how that evolves. Ant Banks 1984 writes, I think when the Hulk was mind-controlled in Age of Ultron and fought against Hulkbuster, that was the closest of seeing the Hulk at his full rage. I don't know. I still think seeing him in the first Avengers movie was pretty Hulk raged out. When he takes out the giant flying worm in one punch, that was pretty good. And seeing him going building to building, just smashing everything in his path, I thought that was pretty damn good, man. I thought that one was pretty damn good. But that was a good one too, Ant Banks. All right, Alex Von Gollum writes, hi, John. I also want the Hot Toys Thanos figure. Plan to wait until the Endgame figure to see if I like it more. And now with the picture, I want that one so bad. Would you now go for the new one? I don't know. Here's the thing. The new one looks awesome. The one with the sword in his hand. That looks awesome. But when I looked back and forth at the first Thanos Hot Toy and now this one, I find there to be a little bit more personality in the first one. I don't know why. I can't quantify that. But when I look at them, I think I think I may prefer the first one. But I totally love the second one too. I got to get me one of them. Or maybe I'll get both. I definitely got to get at least one of them. I got to get at least one of them. But I think right now, if I had to choose, and I was given a Sophie's choice right now, I can have one, but I got to pick, do I want the first one or do I want the new one? I think I might go for the first one, but only by a razor thin margin. But that sword looks pretty damn awesome. Okay. Anmal Bajpai writes, who do you think Thor and Hulk would side with in Civil War? I think it's pretty clear. I think Thor would definitely take no orders from any mortal man. Thor would be on Cap's side. I have no doubt about that. Banner is a bit of a rebel, but he's more by the numbers kind of guy. So I think Banner probably would have sided with Tony. He seems to also have a closer relationship with Tony than he does with Cap. So for those reasons, I think Banner would have sided. Now, I don't know this. I'm just guessing. I think Banner would have sided with Tony, but there's no way Thor would go, oh, yes, I will submit myself to the human authority. Yes. Nay, I say thee nay. No way he would do that. No way. He would definitely be on Cap's side on that. So that's how I kind of see it. All right. Richard Karate writes, Tony has no reason to fight in Endgame because Cap lost Bucky and Falcon, Rocket lost the Guardians, Ant-Man lost Hank and Wasp, but Tony still has Pepper, Happy, and Rhodey, so Tony has no reason. So Tony has no reason. So Tony could just say to the rest of the Avengers, bye guys, good luck, see you around, and go settle somewhere with Pepper and let the Avengers fight because they lost friends and loved ones. He didn't. Oh, Richard, you are so wrong. You are so wrong. Just on Earth, over 3 billion people died. I mean, I see kind of where you're coming from here, Richard, but basically what you're saying is this. If Tony and if Iron Man was sitting on at one of the outside patio tables at McDonald's enjoying some chicken McNuggets, and he saw a school bus whose brakes failed and it's about to go off a bridge, killing all the children inside the bus. The reasoning and the logic you're putting forth would have Tony going, Jarvis, yes, Mr. Stark, is there anybody on that bus that I know? Searching. No, Mr. Stark, it just appears that all the 10-year-old children on the bus happen to not be anybody you know personally. Okay, thanks, Jarvis. Another Big Mac, please. And then he would just sit there and watch the bus go over, because I don't know anybody on that bus. That has nothing to do with me. That is not Iron Man. That's not Tony. Because you're talking about the greatest travesty and the greatest evil ever visited on mankind, where over 3 billion people lost their lives. 3 billion people lost their lives. And you know there's going to be a lot of them that Tony does know. But even put that aside for a second. The greatest evil ever perpetrated on the universe, but forget the universe, just Earth. The greatest evil ever perpetrated on Earth. And Tony's going to go, do I know any of those people that died? No? Okay, I'm good. You guys go save the day. I'm good. I'm good. See you later. Good luck, guys. No way. No way. If 3 billion people dying, children, infants, the innocent, men, women, it's 3 billion people dying. Tony was just going to go, but Pepper's okay? All right, I'm good. I'm good. That doesn't make any sense, Richard. That makes no sense. That's like suggesting that Cap will only fight if specifically Bucky or Sam are in trouble. If it's not Bucky or Sam in trouble, Captain America's good. I don't need to fight for people. I don't need to try to save people. I don't need to try to do any of that because my people are okay, so we're good. That doesn't match up with what we know about Tony and what we know about Iron Man. 3 billion people died. There's a desperate mission to save 3 billion people. Remember that thing about, oh, there's a bus full of children going off a bridge. Will Iron Man see it as his responsibility to do everything he can to try to save that bus full of children, even though he doesn't know any of them? Yes. Now times that by 1 billion. Yes, he's absolutely going to feel the need to do something about it. You know? I mean, Tony's the one who says to Loki in the first Avengers, if we can't save the world, we're sure as hell going to avenge it. I mean, he's definitely. So I've got to say, Richard, I see your breakdown and I see like where you're coming from, but there's just no way. If that was the case, Tony would be a villain. He's a villain. He's a straight up cowardly, spineless, awful superhero. Is it somebody I know? No? Okay, then I'm good. As the bus goes over the bridge and all the children die. But it's not, Pepper wasn't on the bus, so I'm not getting involved. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, I gotta vehemently disagree with you, brother. I gotta vehemently disagree with you on that one. So anyway, that's just my point of view on it, Richard. Anyway, thanks for sending in the question, dude. All right, Tony Hurd writes, Captain Marvel will be the first movie to make $1 billion in 2019. I did not see that coming. Well, obviously I didn't either. I did not think Captain Marvel, let me look up the box office. Let me just see where it's at right now. It is now at $990.6 million. It has 19.4 million more to go. It will get 19 more. It'll get 19 more. Not much more. Like it's not going to catch Black Panther. I don't even think it's going to catch Aquaman. I don't think it's going to hit 1.1, but it's going to hit $1 billion. I never thought Captain Marvel was going to hit $1 billion. I mean, I knew it was going to make a lot of money. I mean, right? I mean, I said for a long time, it's going to make a lot of money. I don't think it's going to hit $1 billion because other Marvel films with first-time superheroes that have not appeared in other films first make between 600 and 700 million. So I think it's going to make between 6, 7, maybe 8. I didn't think $1 billion. And here we are. Yeah, I didn't see it coming either, my man. All right, Ann Mall writes, I think James Gunn will make a better Guardians of the Galaxy 3 after time off with another film. His last one was a step down. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was a step down from the first Guardians of the Galaxy. I still like it. I still think it's an entertaining movie. I still like it, but I agree. It was a step down from the first Guardians. Absolutely. And I absolutely 100% agree that him stepping away from Guardians, keeping his creative knives sharp, working on another film, and then coming back, I think that's going to up his game. I think that's what Christopher Nolan did with the Batman films. Did a Batman film, did a different film. Did a Batman film, did a different film. Did a Batman film, did a different film. And it kept him sharp. Sharp and at the top of his game. I agree. I think we're in for something real special from James Gunn on Guardians of the Galaxy 3. All right. And on Suicide Squad, by the way. Ann Mall writes, Cap versus Tony in a fight. Who wins? I say Cap because Civil War. But my friend argues because Buck was there and his suits upgrade all the time. Captain America. See, a lot of people go, yeah, but in that fight in Civil War, he also had Bucky. True, but then Bucky was out of the fight. And also, Cap was in a murderous rage. Sorry, not Cap. Iron Man, Tony, was in a murderous rage, and he didn't care what he had to do. He wanted to kill Bucky. And if Cap stood in his way, he was going to kill Cap. Captain America was in a totally different frame of mind. Captain America was totally just in defend mode. Just keep Tony in check. He wasn't doing whatever it took. Right? Cap wasn't doing what, that wasn't Cap's mindset. Cap's mindset wasn't kill Iron Man. His mindset was try to keep this from escalating even more. Just try to make sure nobody dies here. Try to make sure Buck doesn't get hurt any more than he needs to, and try to make sure Tony doesn't get hurt any more than he needs to. You know, again, you can also make the argument that Tony didn't have anybody he was trying to defend. Cap had to fight Iron Man while trying to defend Bucky at the same time. To me, it's no question. Iron Man wins that fight. Captain America wins that fight. Iron Man goes down. Cap America wins that fight. And he did in the movie. And I think if you had evened it out, like where Cap was convinced that the only way to save the world was for Tony to die, Tony would have died. Anyway, that's just the way I see it. Tony Hurd writes, what do you think the repercussions will be if the deaths in Infinity War were permanent and the upcoming movies were a ruse? I know that won't happen because it's insane, but nobody would see it coming. Oh my God, it's true. Honestly, what would the repercussions be? By the way, Tony, perfect example of asking a what if question with a question in it. Okay, what if all those deaths from Infinity War stay permanent? What would the repercussions be? Perfect example of that. Anyway, I got to tell you, I would be shocked and stunned, but I would also think it would be the gutsiest move I've ever seen a studio make to kill Spider-Man. And all the Spider-Man Far From Home trailers, just a misdirect. There is no Spider-Man Far From Home. It's just a giant misdirect. All that news about Ryan Coogler being signed to do Black Panther 2, misdirect. There is no Black Panther because Black Panther's dead. Ballsiest, gutsiest, most insane thing I think I could ever possibly imagine Marvel doing. And it would completely undo. You know how my one knock on Marvel always is fake death. The MCFD. You know, the Marvel Cinematic fake deaths. That's all it is. Fake death, fake death, fake death. It's all fake deaths. Oh no, Spider-Man died. He's not dead. He's coming back. Oh no, Black Panther died. He's not died. He's coming back. Oh no, Nick Fury died. Don't you worry, Nick Fury's coming back. Everything's fake deaths. They pull this, Tony? They pull a stunt and basically undo all of our assumptions. All of our assumptions. And actually have those characters dead and stay dead? Ballsiest, gutsiest move ever. They're not going to do it. Spider-Man Far From Home is not a fake ruse. It's not happening. So let's just acknowledge that right now. That's not happening. But if they did it, oh my God, it would be the craziest, gutsiest thing I'd ever seen. And I would applaud. I mean, it would be heartbreaking and stunning and shocked. But at the end, I would stand on my feet and applaud the hell out of them because that would have been the gutsiest move ever. But again, as you say, Tony, it's not going to happen. But the repercussions would be a future of the MCU that we'd have no idea what's coming. We would have no idea what's coming. I mean, it would put us all into a place where we can't really predict what's hamining next because they just shocked the hell out of us. It would, oh my God, it would be brilliant. They're not doing it, but it would be brilliant. All right, Luke1234 writes, Mark Hamill voicing Chucky. Again, I'm not excited about that. I think that's very shticky. It's a shtick, and Mark Hamill and almost anything else, I'm super excited. This doesn't excite me, to be honest with you. Okay, I think, where were we at now? Okay, Joe K writes, I think in Endgame, Thanos will only be able to use a stone or two at a time since it's permanently damaged. Gives the Avengers a chance since he's theoretically unbeatable using all 6 stones at once. And yet Thor beat him using all 6 stones at once. Thor didn't just beat him. Thor beat him in one shot. No fight. Thor and Thanos came face to face. Thor, one shot, Thanos goes down. That's all. And that was him using all 6 stones. That was him using all 6 stones. And Thor put him down in one shot. Come on. Come on. So I don't know. I mean, that's been a big question, Joe, about ever since the Russo brothers said in that Infinity War director's commentary that the Gauntlet is now permanently damaged, and so is Thanos. We've been kind of going back and forth, kind of debating and discussing and theorizing. What does that mean? Permanently damaged. Does that mean it's now just can't be used? Does it mean it's only at 5% of its effectiveness? Does it mean only one of the 2 stones still work? What does it mean this? Does it mean that? Does it mean the other thing? I mean, who knows? All we know is that it said it's been permanently damaged. What does that mean? Now, for the most part, even in Infinity War, other than the snap, Thanos always just used 1 stone at a time. He would use the space stone to teleport. He'd use the power stone to do a bunch of stuff. He used the reality stone to do a bunch of stuff. He used the time stone to do a bunch of stuff, blah, blah. So he usually did only use one stone at a time until he let out that huge blast at Thor, and Thor just threw Stormbreaker that cut through the Infinity Stone blast like it was butter and take down Thanos. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see. That's the million-dollar question right now. What shape is the Infinity Gauntlet and Thanos? What shape is Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet in when we start this movie? And that's what we're all going to look for. So that's certainly one valid theory, Joe. Let's see how that actually turns out. All right. Grandmaster writes, Bohemian Rhapsody needs 3 million added to reach 900 million possible. What do you think? I think it's just a symbolic number. It doesn't mean anything. It's already made as much money as it needs to make. It's not going to make 3 million more. I mean, who's still going to the theater to watch Bohemian Rhapsody at this point, right? It's already kind of done and taken care of. So, yeah, I don't. I mean, maybe it gets to 900, but it's essentially at 9 million already, right? Essentially, it's at 900 million already. But whether it gets to it, it's not like they'll win a big prize if it gets to 900 million on the dot, right? It's just a symbolic number. So at the end of the day, if somebody asks me, hey, how much did Bohemian Rhapsody make? I'm saying 900 million because essentially it's made 900 million already. Whether it gets that last 3 million, which it probably won't, is kind of irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? ZMG Ruler writes, seems like the DCU is going continuity schmontinuity. I don't know if that's true. I haven't seen anything in Aquaman. I can't go into details in Shazam, but I don't remember anything in Shazam or Aquaman that directly contradicts something that they established as a narrative truth in the other DCEU films. So just because they're not going to explore the overlapping shared cinematic universe part of it doesn't mean they're going to start contradicting all the things they've done in the movies. Aquaman certainly didn't. I don't think Shazam does. So, no, I mean, I would be fine if DCEU said, we're going to go continuity schmontinuity. If they did, I'm fine with that. But just my point is right now, I don't think it looks like that's what they're doing. Not yet. Not yet at any rate. Okay. AFC writes, gutted, I ordered Infinity War Thanos hot toy. Now the Endgame one. Wow. True. But you know what? Like I said a little bit earlier, I might pick that first one anyway. Now we're always more like super impressed by the new. What's the new thing? Oh, that's new. And so that, but really sit down and look at that first one. It's pretty freaking sweet, dude. It's pretty freaking sweet. I think I might still lean towards that one, but I would love the second one too. Aaron H writes, Widow has around 5 hairstyles in these trailers. Yes, she does. So I think there is definitely going to be a time jump, not only from Endgame or Infinity War to Endgame, but even within Endgame, I think there's going to be a time jump. You know, my theory right now, which I give a 5% chance of being real, my theory right now is in the opening of the film, the Avengers mount an attack, going to find Thanos, finding Thanos, and their plan was to get the gauntlet to undo everything, and Thanos lets them know the gauntlet doesn't work anymore. And that whole plan failed, and now they're really depressed because they thought that was their one chance to set everything right, and then it doesn't work. And now we fast forward another year or another 6 months, Scott gets out of the quantum realm, and it brings them new hope. That's kind of what, and that would explain a lot of the different hairstyles, but you're right. She has a lot of different hairstyles in these things. All right. AFC writes, also Endgame Thanos toy armor damaged, but not gauntlet. Yeah, I noticed that too. That was one of the first things I noticed. Like, why is the gauntlet on his hand? And why does it look so sweet? Why does it look like it's in pristine condition? Russo said it's permanently damaged. What's going on? So that's another question we're going to have going into this movie, dude. All right. Arturo Beltran writes, thoughts about Funko releasing Endgame Pops seem major spoilers. Did they did the same in Civil War with Giant Man show. The pop people got angry with them. I have heard about some stuff like this, but I haven't gone and looked at it. Arturo, I haven't gone and looked at them because I don't want to see them. So I don't even know what it is. I don't know if it's actually spoilery. I don't know if it's super spoilery. I just don't know because I haven't gone to look, and I don't plan on looking. Yeah, look, they got to come up with something because this is becoming a problem. Where, look, I don't blame the toy companies if somebody leaks out pictures, right? We've seen that happen, that sometimes some asshole gets their hands on photos of something and leaks it out, and then that spoils something. Like, these toys show something that happens in the movie, and it got leaked out. Well, you don't blame the toy company for that. They didn't release it. Some idiot got their hands on it and leaked it. So that's not the toy company. Don't blame them for that. But sometimes we see things like where the toy companies themselves release things before a movie comes out that contains spoiler material in it. There has to be a way to control that. There's got to be a way to control that. I just don't know what it is. But again, for this one specific circumstance, Arturo, I can't comment because I haven't looked at them and I don't plan on looking at them either. So anyway, that's just kind of where I'm stuck right now. Tacky75 writes, Boss Logic suggested Daniel Radcliffe. If Marvel wants to go for a comic-accurate Wolverine, do you consider him talented enough to handle the role? Oh, I do consider him talented enough. Daniel Radcliffe is a talented actor. Just watch his body of his independent films. He's quite a good little actor. Yeah, I think he's good. I mean, he wouldn't be my top 20 choices to play the role, but he's a good actor. And so if they picked him, I would go, well, he's a decent actor. And the director must, if they're picking Daniel Radcliffe, that must mean they have a certain kind of Wolverine in mind. So if they don't pick Daniel Radcliffe, they're just going to pick another Daniel Radcliffe type. So I'd be fine with it. But just overall, do I consider Daniel a good actor? I do. I do consider him a good actor. Just watch some of his indie films. I know a lot of you guys haven't watched any of his indie films, but he's a good actor. Is he one of the top 10 in the world? No, but I think he's good. I think he's good. If I were a producer, I'd be proud to have him in my film. Let's just say that. Spencer Smothers writes, if we don't get a trailer for Endgame Tuesday when the tickets go on sale, will they even have another trailer or just have the TV spots until the release? I'm guessing if they don't have a trailer on the 2nd when tickets go on sale, I'm guessing they're not going to have another one. Now, I believe they're going to have another trailer, and I believe it's going to drop when the tickets go on sale, but it may not. I have no insider information on that. I'm not claiming to have insider information that's telling me that. That's just me as a fan, like anybody else, just speculating. But my speculation is that I think they're going to drop another trailer, and the trailer will end with tickets on sale now, and then watch the advanced ticket sales go through the roof. But no, I agree. I do agree, Smothers, that if they don't drop that trailer, then I don't believe we're getting another trailer. I think it'll just be 30-second TV spots from here on out. So let's see what happens. We're like 48 hours away, man. Okay. Let's see. Spencer writes, he liked the question so much he wrote it twice. If we get another trailer for Endgame, would it be a mistake? Oh, no, it isn't the same question. If we get another trailer for Endgame, would it be a mistake if that trailer is still in the style of the other trailers and not a boom trailer? I think so. I do. Because, look, what these trailers have done is gotten everybody excited who was already excited about the movie. I mean, let's face it. Like, I even debate Robert on this sometimes. Robert goes, but John, I've had this person tell me how excited they are. Yes, but you just proved my point. That person was somebody who was already hyped about Endgame no matter what, and they were going to go see it no matter what. And that's the thing. These trailers have been designed to excite the already existing fan base, to excite the people who were already going to go and watch Endgame. What these trailers have not done is what the Infinity War trailers did, which was get people who had never watched the MCU into the idea of watching the MCU. And we talked about this the other day, but one of the great things that kind of proves this point, it's anecdotal, but it really does prove the point. When Infinity War was coming out, I was bombarded almost every day with questions of, John, I haven't watched any of the MCU films, but this Infinity War looks awesome. What are the 5 MCU films I should watch to lead into it? Remember that? All the time. John, I don't have all the time in the world. Which movies should I watch to be able to watch this Infinity War movie? Because they weren't in the MCU. We got those questions every day. Because the trailers for Infinity War were exciting not only the people who were already into the MCU, it was exciting people who had never seen an MCU movie yet, right? And so we were flooded with all these questions and topics. What are the movies I need to watch this Infinity War when it comes out? And we would always talk about that a lot, right? I'm sure you had about 40 or 50 of those conversations too. I'm sure we all have. Not getting those conversations with Endgame, right? True. I haven't gotten, I think maybe one. I think I got one question from somebody asking, hey, I haven't really been following the MCU. What movie should I watch in order to be able to watch Endgame? I think I've had like one. Whereas with Infinity War, I got like 100 of those questions from people. Marvel has decided to take an approach with their marketing here to just excite the base that's already excited about seeing the movie. And that's fine, because they have gotten me more excited for the movie, but I was going to go see it opening day regardless. They've probably got you really excited to see the movie, but let's be honest, you were probably going to go see Avengers Endgame opening weekend anyway. Did it get my cousin? Did these trailers get my cousin excited, who is not into the MCU, into really wanting to go see Endgame? No, it hasn't. They did with Infinity War, they didn't here. So do I think it would be a mistake? Yeah, I think it would be a mistake. Will it be a costly mistake? Nah. A mistake? Yes. A super costly one? No. Because even if all they do is get everybody who went to go see Endgame to come back, or even if all they do is get to everybody who went to go see Infinity War to come back and watch Endgame again, then they're doing pretty damn good, right? So a mistake? Yes. A super costly one? No, because there's still so many of us who are already wanting to see regardless. And I mean, look, they could have not put out a single trailer for Endgame and it still would have made $1.5 billion. Even if they did not put out a single trailer for Avengers Endgame, this movie would have made more than Black Panther. This movie would have made more than Aquaman. It would have made more than just about anything you can name. But they don't want to just make 1.5 billion. They want to make 2.5 billion, right? But without a single trailer, this movie would have made 1.5. But they do the marketing because they want more than 1.5. They want 2.5 or 2.6 or 2.8 or heavens, maybe even 3. $3 billion. This marketing campaign won't get them to 3, but who knows? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Mistake, yes. Costly mistake, probably not. Let's see. Dropkick Aggie writes, what if you were locked in a room after I gave a what if scenario and envelopes hanging from the ceiling out of reach with the relevant questions? That's kind of the picture we're painting here, aren't we, Dropkick Aggie? It's funny you mentioned that, because just last night, part of Anne's birthday festivities, we went to an escape room. We went and did an escape room. We didn't get out, by the way. We failed. We got gassed and died at the end. Anyway. But it's funny that you kind of phrase your question like that just when I just did an escape room. That's pretty funny. Okay, Casinema Reviews writes, Russian Endgame poster, Nebula has Yondu's fin. Really? Let me pull that up. Russian Avengers Endgame poster. Let's see. Okay. I don't see Nebula in the poster at all, actually. Oh, wait a minute. Now I do. Wait, now I do. Let me blow this. Let me just take it. You know what? Let me bring this over to the screen and we can all look at this together, because I think you're onto something here. Let me just see if I can... Okay, there we go. Okay, oh my, look at that. Now, okay, there are a couple of things to point out here. Number one, you know what? I take it back. She does not have Yondu's fin. Look more closely. That's War Machine's arm. That's not Yondu's fin on her head. That's just War Machine's arm behind her head. Just look more. I'm going to see if I can blow this up a little bit more. And we can really get in there and take a peek. Yeah, here we go. That's War Machine's arm behind her head. But man, I'll tell you what, dude, if you look at this just at regular size, which I will try to get back to regular size here. You look at this just at regular size and you just catch that look. I'll tell you what, I could totally see how that would just look initially, because even I looked at that and thought, holy crap, look, it is Yondu's fin. But no, it's not. It's not. It is definitely War Machine's arm. But, oh my gosh, it had me there for a second. That had me for a second. I thought so too. Okay, anyway. Just Plain Steve writes, how harmful, and thank you so much for that super chat, Just Plain Steve. That's generous. Thank you so much for supporting the channel that way. And to everybody for supporting the channel, for that matter. How harmful would it be for the MCU going forward if Endgame is really bad? Marvel has earned their goodwill with the fans, but this isn't an Ant-Man or Doctor Strange. This is the culmination of 10 years of storytelling. Yeah, but see, the thing is, Just Steve, they said the same thing for Infinity War, right? Marvel has so much momentum and so much goodwill built up with their audience right now. One even terrible film, even if it's Endgame, does not spell the end of the world. It doesn't spell the end of the world. Well, it could literally spell the end of the world in the movie universe, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah, because they said the same thing for Infinity War. Oh, if Infinity War is bad because it's a big, big deal. Well, yeah, it's a big, big deal, but it's still just one film. When's the last time Marvel had a film that wasn't at least a winner? Like Thor: The Dark World? So I got to believe that even if this one isn't just bad, but is horrible bad, I honestly don't think the repercussions are all that negative. It'll mean this film probably doesn't cross $2 billion because people won't come back over and over and over and over and over again to go see it a second time. They won't drag their friends out to see it, blah, blah, blah. You know, it'll still, look, this is a movie that's going to make $1 billion in its sleep. This movie's going to make $1 billion, but maybe it won't hit 2 billion. You know, it'll be the first, big loss on their record in a while. All that kind of stuff, but that's all temporary, and it'll be just one film. Yes, it's a majorly significant film, but it's still, at the end of the day, just one film. At the end of the day, it's just one movie. When they've done like 12 in a row that have been huge hits and popular with the fans and popular with critics and blah, 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 you can hit one loss. You can hit a loss, and they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Now, if they do this when it sucks, and then Spider-Man Far From Home comes out and it sucks, then some flags start to go up. Now that's a losing streak. That would be 2 in a row. That's called a losing streak. That becomes an issue. But they put out a bad Endgame, and then Far From Home comes out and is just as good as Homecoming was, then everybody will forget about Endgame and we'll just move on. So, yeah, it won't be great. It'll cost them some money. And it'll put more importance and more emphasis and more pressure on Far From Home to be good, because now Far From Home's really got to be good. But ultimately, yeah, everything would be fine. Everything would be fine. So that's just the way I kind of see it, Just Plain Steve. Interesting question, though. All right. The Wonder One writes, I'll be 6 months pregnant when Avengers Endgame is out. Congratulations. I can't hold it for 3 hours, damn it. Yeah, well, look. It's not just you. Anybody that enjoys having a good soda during a movie, they won't be able to hold it for 3 hours either. Regular human beings can't do that. I mean, everybody can go 3 hours without peeing, but if you have a big freaking soda and stuff like that, which people like to do at the movies, people enjoy having a soda and a beverage, whatever, at a movie, you ain't going to be able to hold for 3 hours. And that's going to be tough. And it kind of brings up the whole intermission thing, but... So what you got to do, Wonder One, my best advice is if you're not going to go opening night, use one of those apps like Pee Break, or there's a bunch of different apps out there that you can download that will tell you a good time in a movie to go and run to the bathroom. It's like, hey, 3 or 4 minutes here, you're not going to miss much. At 1 hour and 47-minute mark, you got about 3 or 4 minutes there where you're not going to miss much if you go and use the bathroom then. Look up one of those apps. Try to find a good time that you can go use the bathroom and get back to your seat. Don't hold it Because the later you get into the movie, it's probably the more and more important stuff, and you don't want to have to get up and go at 2.5 hours as you're getting into the last half hour of the movie. Those aren't minutes you're going to want to miss. So I'd say try to find a good place sometime after an hour, hour and 20 minutes that you can make that run, and hopefully Wonder One, you're going to be able to do it. So I believe in you. I believe you. You just got to time it right. All right. DC Patience writes, Endgame opening night sitter, $80 to $100. Worth it. Yep. Yeah, it would be for me too. Totally worth it for me. God, is that how much babysitters are now? I got to move home before we have a kid. I got to get back to Canada before we have a kid. So my parents and my sisters and my niece and whatever. So I got lots of free, and my aunts and all that kind of stuff. I have literally dozens and dozens and dozens of free babysitting options if I can get back to Canada. And believe me, they would do it just if I can come back to Canada. Yeah, but woo, $80 to $100. But you're right, DC. If anything's worth it, this is worth it. This is totally worth it. Koa1708 writes, do you agree with me that baseball is no longer America's favorite pastime? I think that goes without saying. I mean, football destroys baseball as far as like interest, viewership, all that kind of stuff. I think it's a pretty safe thing. And that doesn't even have anything to do with the fact that I don't like baseball. I mean, I think just objectively, you just sit down and look at the numbers. The numbers are quantifiably show it, right? So that's what I think. I mean, people can have a different opinion, but I'm not the best person to answer that, I guess. Murray Reich writes, what's with Umbrella Academy spoiler discussion? Us? Yeah, not doing it. It's too late. It's too late. I missed that window. I just didn't think enough people would see Us. And they did. Like, the movie opened to $70 million. It did have enough people that it would have justified a spoiler review, but it's too late at this point. So, and also too late for Umbrella Academy. I don't think there'd be a lot of interest in doing those at this point. So I think the next spoiler discussion is going to be this coming Sunday. This coming Sunday will be our Shazam spoiler discussion. Look for it at noon, 1 week from today. So next Sunday, 1 week from today at noon, will be our big open Shazam spoiler discussion. Make sure you guys join us for that. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Okay, the Wonder One writes, what if Marvel's What If show didn't have a question? Yeah, Marvel, for those of you who missed it, Marvel is doing a What If universe show. It's going to be animated, and it's going to be outside of canon. And it's going to be, imagine if Loki was the good brother, or imagine if Captain America never grew big. And it just, I'm not saying those are the actual episodes. I'm just making up scenarios. But I'm very excited for that. That could be pretty fun. All right, Murray Reich writes, when Disney parks raise the price of admission, is it because of expenses keep going up, or is it just because they control the market? I think it's a couple of things. It's supply and demand. Look, the reality is Disneyland, I can't speak for Disney World. I've never been to Disney World, but Disneyland in Anaheim. Ann and I had seasons passes for a long time. And we're going to get season passes again for when Galaxy Edge opens up, when Star Wars Land opens up. But it's always freaking packed. It is always packed. Disneyland is always packed. And at some point, the only option you have if you're a park is we got to raise the prices. I mean, not just because we can, but you're a business, you're trying to make money, but to try to cut down a little bit the overwhelming demand for passes. It's a little bit of a market correction, if you will. So, yeah, their price is going up because they keep completely selling out. And if you keep selling out, you raise your prices. It's supply and demand. It's capitalism at its finest and at its worst. But, yeah, it's got to the point that I stopped enjoying going to Disneyland a number of times because everywhere you go, you're walking like this in the midst of like 5,000 other people or 50,000 other people. It's unbearable. And at some point, they got to do something to like lessen the amount of people coming while still maintaining profit margins. Yeah, it's a bigger discussion for another time, but yeah, they got to do something. James Peter writes, I am someone who has not been a fan of DC movies recently, even Wonder Woman and Aquaman. Really, I wasn't a fan, but Shazam intrigues me, I must say. Yeah, it's a very different movie. Shazam is a very, very different movie from those other DCU films. It's a very different movie from Wonder Woman. It's a very different movie from Aquaman. Does have a lighter tone and stuff like that, but it's delightful. I think, other than Man of Steel, Shazam is the best movie that the DCEU has ever put out. Remember, of course, The Dark Knight was not in the DCEU, so keep that in mind. But I think Shazam is the best movie, other than Man of Steel, that they've done. And it's very different, and I think you'll be pleasantly happy with it. I really do. I think you're going to have a good time. So go check it out, dude, when you get a chance. All right. Nicholas Priera writes, a little tired of hearing about Reeve as soon as we defend the opinion leader side of Soups. Man, what's this? A little tired of hearing about Reeve as soon as we defend the opinion leader side of Soups, especially when people accept this for Evans's cap. This is the fact that Superman wants to influence the world by speech. Is the fact that Superman wants to influence the world by speech obsolete? A modern Superman has the obligation to be a stoic or emotionally insecure. I have no idea what you're saying, Nicholas. A little tired of hearing about Reeve as soon as we defend the opinion leader side of Soups. Especially when people accept this for Evans's cap. Is the fact that Superman wants to influence the world by speech obsolete? A modern Superman has the obligation to be stoic or emotionally insecure. I'm not sure I follow at all what you're talking about, Nicholas. Certainly not the first part. Let me at least try. I think I get what your second part is saying. I don't think there's anything wrong with the idea of Superman wanting to influence the world by a speech, but there's a couple things to keep in mind. In Man of Steel, he's been Superman for a day. He hasn't even figured himself out yet. He's trying to find his place in the world, let alone trying to go to the stage of the UN and give some kind of moral. What moral authority does he have to give anybody a speech, right? He's been Superman for a day. And I certainly don't see. A lot of people misconstrue Henry Cavill's Superman as stoic. He's not stoic. He's just figuring it out. He's absolutely dedicated to doing the right thing, but he's been put in some really horrible, miserable situations. So yeah, I disagree with that assessment of him. And then we've never really seen him have a chance to be the speech giver or to be a moral authority, right? He's never had the opportunity yet in the DCU to develop that presence, to do stuff like that, right? So I don't know, but then again, I will confess, Nicholas, I'm having a very hard time understanding where it is you're going with that, so I'm not even sure if I'm answering what it is you're asking, so forgive me if I'm not. I tried my best. Forgive me, though. All right. Santez Henderson writes, a guy goes to a $5 lady of the night. He gets crabs. Oh, I know this. The next day, he goes back to the lady to complain, and she says, what did you expect? Lobster? Michael Scott from The Office. Look, you can only do that today. I wouldn't say you can't do that today. I wouldn't say you can't use a line like that today. You can, but you have to have a character like Michael Scott say it. You'd have to have a character that's as established as Michael Scott was, as the type of personality he has, so it feels very much like, yep, that's something he would say. If you did that, I think you could still get around with it. But dude, man, so many great lines out of The Office. Like, there are just so many completely ridiculously marvelous lines from that show. I've told you this before, but it's true. Ann and I sometimes will play Office or Parks and Rec roulette, where we'll just load up either Hulu or Netflix and go to The Office, right? And then go to episodes and then just close our eyes and just go through the list of all the episodes and then stop on one. And then just hit play and watch whatever it is we landed on. Because we know no matter what episode we land on, it's going to be awesome. And it's going to be funny and we're going to laugh. And we do that with both Parks and Rec and with The Office. And that's certainly a highlight moment. All right, Santez follows up with, I like Dumbo, 4 out of 5, Burton's best in a long time. It's interesting. I'm hearing a couple of people now say they enjoyed it. Because the first number of people I had writing in told me they did not like Dumbo. And certainly it's got very mixed reviews. Very mixed reviews. Dumbo does. But I've also been hearing now lately a little bit, and you're like the second or third person, Sentez, who's written into me to say you actually enjoyed it. So that's good to hear. I, of course, did not have a chance to see it because the night I was going to go and got sick, and I'm not going to be able to see it all week because I'm going to be in CinemaCon at Vegas. But maybe next weekend. Well, no, next weekend I'm watching Shazam 5 times. But so maybe in a week or so, maybe a little over a week from now, I'll have a chance to finally watch it myself. All right. Jared McBride, and that's a very generous super chat, Jared. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, man. I appreciate that, dude. Jared McBride writes, John, I watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Bumblebee back-to-back. That's a good doubleheader. Those were really good, fun films. I enjoyed them both very much. After watching them, I downloaded the soundtrack to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and I got something to listen to in the shower. Dude, I have been doing that. People know I've been talking about this for a while, Jared. And I just did this morning. There's a few songs that are just my go-to. See, when Anne gets in the shower in the morning, she's got our Google, we have a Google Home in our bathroom. I've got one here in the office and we've got one downstairs. And then for whatever reason, just to mix things up, we have an Alexa, an Amazon, what do you call them? The name of it's Alexa, but it's an Amazon Echo it's called. We have an Amazon Echo in our master bedroom, and then in our master bathroom, we have a Google Home. But when Anne gets in the shower, she has Google Home programmed that when she says, I can't say too loud because my Google Home in here will say something. When I say, hey, Google, and she says, hey, Google, good morning. Then it knows, it says, good morning, Anne. Here's your rundown. And she's got like these 10 things programmed to give me the latest from, you know, NPR News, give me the latest from The Daily Show, give me the latest from this, and it runs through this like 20-minute thing of all these things she likes to listen to. I'm very different. I get in the shower and I do one of 4 things. Okay, one of 4 things. I'll either A, put on an episode of the John Campea Show, just because I'm constantly reviewing my own show. I constantly review it to try to get better, to try to pick up on little habits I'm picking up, or maybe things that I think I should have said, or blah, blah, blah. I'm constantly reviewing my own material. You know, some people say, oh, I can't watch myself on film. You have to. Whenever I would hire somebody new, I always used to say, I know a lot of people don't like watching themselves, but as soon as you're finished doing a show, watch it like twice, because that's the best way to improve. That's the best way to improve. And we all have a lot of improving to do. So a lot of times when I'll get in the shower, I'll either, number 1, play an episode of the John Campea Show so I can just study it. Or one of 3 other things. Say, hey, Google, play What Are You Going to Do When You're Not Saving the World by Hans Zimmer, which is the Man of Steel theme. Or I say, hey, Google, play Pray For Me by Kendrick Lamar from Black Panther. Or I say, hey, Google, play Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack. I do one of those three things if I'm not listening to the John Campea Show, because those particular pieces of music get me pumped and ready today. Because I usually take my shower about a half hour before we start the show. So I'll get up at 5 and I'll start working on the show, and I was working on the show the night before as well, but I get all the final things prepped for that day's show. And then at about 8:30, I jump in the shower, get showered up, get pumped out. I'm out of the shower, clean, ready to go by 8:45, sitting at my desk. Me, Robert, and Ashley, we do our picture check, we do our sound check, all that kind of stuff. And then by 9 o'clock, we're ready to roll on the show. But I always listen to one of those 3 things: the Man of Steel theme, the song from Black Panther, or Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack. So when you say, Jared, that you got that damn thing, so you got something to listen to in the shower, I'm a boring, predictable guy. I get it, and I just listen to one of those 3 pieces of music. That's it. And a lot of the time, today, as a matter of fact, it was the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack. That's what I did today. Anyway, thanks for sharing that, Jared, and good double header, dude. Bumblebee and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, excellent double header. Okay. Hector Jeter writes, I'll never forget when I went to opening night to episode 1. The screening was so filled that people were sitting on the stairway just to watch the movie. Did they let more people in the capacity? That's like a fire code violation. That's like putting people's lives at risk. They could have been shut down. They let more people in than they had seats. I mean, that sounds like a wild environment. And hey, to get into Spider-Man or to get into Star Wars when it was opening up, The Force Awakens, The Phantom Menace, I should say, I totally would have sat on the stairs too, but there is no way the theater should have let that many people in, because that's a fire violation. People could have got killed. Anyway, I don't share what theater it was because they could get in trouble. So there you go, Hector. But it sure would have been a fun environment. KSNASCAR Fantasy writes, NASCAR? I don't know. Oh yeah, you got a NASCAR symbol as an avatar there. So I guess it's Kansas NASCAR Fantasy. Anyway, I love your new podcast. Thank you so much, man. I was curious after you recorded one if you do much editing. I've recorded a few myself, and I never know if I should go and make edits or let everyone hear it, all the good and bad. Thanks. Thanks so much. Now, I'll take this as an excuse to plug our podcast. For those of you who don't know what Kansas NASCAR Fantasy is talking about, me and Robert and Olympic gold medalist Cody Miller, we have a new podcast. We're 3 episodes in. It's called Best Movie, Worst Movie. It's a lot of fun. We have a blast doing it. And thank you to all of you guys who've been listening to it, subscribing to it, rating it, leaving comments on it. Thank you so much, guys. That's awesome. More episodes to come. For the most part, I do some editing, but it's only been minor editing. Like what I do is I go in and I look for I have a nasty habit. Like one of the habits I have, and I've gotten a little bit better at it over the last couple of years, but for the most part, I'm still pretty bad at this. And I no matter how hard I try, I'm a terrible lip smacker. I do that all the time, and it's infuriating. I've improved it as much as I can, but I've just had to accept it's always going to be there. It's a part I can't, it's hardwired in my brain. I've improved it a little, but it seems to be as good as I can. But it's constantly where I go like, well, I think you should do this. And then I think maybe that. Now you guys are just going to hear me. Now you're going to notice it all the time. If you haven't already noticed it, it's a horrible habit I have that I just can't seem to get out of. It helps when I keep myself hydrated. It helps. It gets worse when I run out of something to drink. It starts getting worse. But for those of you who've watched me for a long time, you've probably noticed I have improved a little bit. But at any rate, getting back to the editing, I will go through, and particularly if for whatever point me, Robert, and Cody, we got to stop for a second, then there's certainly edits to do there. But I'll also go through and listen for any really bad plosives, like that just rumbles the thing. I'll go in and try to fix those. Any particularly loud lip smacking, either from me or Cody or Robert. Robert doesn't do it nearly as bad as I do. And I'll try to edit those out because I'm trying to make a more pleasant listening experience. And then I'll probably process the audio a little bit just to make it sound a little more a little sharper. But honestly, I've never had to do much editing. I'm prepared to do a lot of editing, but mostly we just start and then finish. And then all I have to do is clean up a couple of little things and process the audio a little bit and done. I really haven't had to do much hard editing on it yet, but I'm fully prepared to do it. It's just that we've always run through pretty clean. Like Robert and I do live shows, about 3 hours of live shows every day, right? So I'm pretty good at going from start to finish, and I know how to do it and all that kind of nonsense, where I don't need a lot of editing. Robert's getting used to that too. He's a communicator. I've been shocked about how good Cody is at it naturally, or that we're able to cover for him so well that it doesn't become an issue. But really, so far, we haven't had to do much editing, to be honest with you. But I would say, if it needs the editing, do the editing. Like when I'm doing a live show like I'm doing right now, then, you know, hey, it is what it is. I got to go start to finish. It's live. But if you're presenting a pre-recorded piece of entertainment, respect your audience enough to give them the best you can. Respect your audience enough to give them the best you're capable of giving them. And if that means going into your podcast and spending some time to edit it, make it sound right, Make it sure it's the right presentation, because you are offering this to your listeners to listen to, and you want to offer them the best thing you can. I would say don't be afraid to do your editing. Go ahead and do your editing. That's my recommendation at any rate. But anyway, hopefully that was a little bit helpful, KS, and thank you for the question. All right. Tyler Weddle writes, as a kid, I loved sword fighting movies, of course, Star Wars, but my two favorites were Mask of Zorro, oh, I like that, and The Musketeer with Tim Roth as the villain. I really liked The Three Musketeers. I thought that movie was great with Kiefer Sutherland and Charlie Sheen. I love that movie. Absolutely. And Chris O'Donnell was in, Chris O'Donnell was in the, Chris O'Donnell was in that one. Yes, Chris O'Donnell was in that one too. I love that Three Musketeers. Obviously Star Wars, but yeah. And of course, Princess Bride. You killed my father, prepare to die. I love that as well. So yeah, dude, I'm completely on board with that stuff. I love those sword fighting movies. The Musketeer, I don't remember that one off the top of my head, but Mask of Zorro, I certainly do. And yeah, I still get a kick out of these adventure sword, even the pirate movies, stuff like that. I get a big kick out of that. Get a big kick out of that, Tyler. All right. Hector Jeter writes, John, I'm disappointed. How do you only eat 1/3 of the popcorn? What's the point of layering the bucket? LOL, I'm halfway done with mine after the previews. Yeah, I mean, well, because so it's two things. Number one, I get frustrated eating popcorn, and then after you first couple of handfuls, there's no butter left because you just put butter on the top of the popcorn, and it hardly penetrates down anymore, and you're out of popcorn. But the reality is I don't eat a lot of popcorn anyway. Like, I usually get the big thing because as an AMC Stub members, I get a free upgrade to large anyway. So I just take the large popcorn, and I usually only get about 1/3 of the way through the bucket. But still, if I don't layer the butter, it doesn't get down past the top 1/10 of it, right? So yeah, I have to have, it's funny, I have to have popcorn when I go to the movies, but I don't actually eat all that much of it, but I gotta have it. It's a weird thing. And I don't eat popcorn at home. And sometimes if we're at a hockey game or something, I'll get like a caramel corn because that's delicious. But I actually don't eat a lot of popcorn. But as soon as I walk in the movie theater, Pavlovian response. The bell rings, my mouth starts to water. I gotta have some of that popcorn. And then I eat about 1/3 of the bucket, and then I'm satisfied, and I don't eat the rest of it. It's kind of weird that way. All right. Aaron H. writes, I've never been to a Dolby before, and Endgame is going to be my first time. That's awesome, dude. Any advice on which seat to get? Because I'm not sure how the theater is set up. Honestly, in a Dolby, every seat's a good seat. It really, at the end of the day, every seat's a good seat. Particularly with the big leather recliners. I'd say just don't get front row. Try to sit a little further back if you can. But honestly, my experience with the Dolby theaters has been every seat's a good seat. My one recommendation would be try to get a little bit further back, like maybe not in the first 3 or 4 rows, but even if you did, you'd still be fine. Dude, it's going to ruin you. You're going to love this experience. The dual laser projection system is impressive. The motorized leather recliners are fabulously comfortable. You're going to have a great time. And this is a good one to pop your cherry on, my friend. All right. John Wick's dog. Woof, woof. Profound. But I disagree. I disagree vehemently. I think that represents an old way of thinking. I think that represents thinking from a bygone era. This isn't the 1980s anymore. We do it a little different. I respect your opinion, but yeah, no, woof, woof, I completely disagree with. Completely disagree, but that's just my thought, and you, dog, are completely entitled to your opinion. I just gotta say I disagree on that. All right, Javier Riaz 405 writes, we are 4 months into the year. I gotta ask, what's your favorite / best movie so far? Oh, I don't know. I can't even remember what movie I saw last week, let alone what movie I've seen all year. But why not take this opportunity to pop open a list? How to Train Your Dragon was fabulous. Us was great. Alita Battle Angel was a lot of fun. Let's see. What else? Boy, not a lot. I'm going down the list here, trying to see what else is jumping. I got to see Hotel Mumbai. I got to see that with Dev Patel and Armie Hammer. I got to get out and see that. Yeah, man, there's like nothing. So you know what? I'm going to say Shazam. I mean, it hasn't officially opened, but it did have public screenings already. So yeah, I feel okay saying Shazam. I think Shazam is my favorite movie of the year so far. Now, I'm sure that'll change when I see Endgame, but for now, and Captain Marvel is great. I had a great time with Captain Marvel. I love How to Train Your Dragon 2. I had a really good time with Us. But yeah, and Upside is actually quite good. Upside is quite good. Alita Battle Angel is enjoyable. A lot of good films, but I'm going to say right now, Shazam is my favorite movie of the year so far. All right, Anthony R. writes, you may want to get the DC app. Doom Patrol is excellent. Brendan Fraser, Timothy Dalton, and Alan Tudyk. Also, Young Justice, duh. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a fan of Young Justice. Whenever I say that to people, everybody's like, it's like you hear the record scratch and the room goes quiet. I actually don't think Young Justice is very good. RIP! And everybody looks at me like I just said, let's murder all kittens. Seriously. When I say in a room, I don't think Young Justice is very good, people look at me like I just said, let's murder kittens. For fun tonight. Instead of going to movies, let's go murder kittens. That's what people look at me like. But I've tried to get into Young Justice. I find it, well, let's just say it's not for me. I'm not going to sit here and insult the show. It's not for me. I love that other people love it. I love that other people enjoy it and have a good time with it. Awesome. But it is not for me. But yeah, I'm hearing nothing but good things about Doom Patrol. I am curious to check out Titans, and Swamp Thing is airing pretty soon. I can't remember the exact date, but they just announced the release date for it. It's coming really soon. I got to get on that, and I got to get the DC app. So I'm going to follow your advice, Anthony, but not because of Young Justice, but I'm going to follow your advice. I am going to get the app now. All right, ZOMG Ruler writes, maybe go by Van Campea like Van Wayne, Giovanni. So where this is coming from is the other day I mentioned that, you know, as most of you guys know, my actual real name is Giovanni, that I've named after my grandfather, who goes by John, and so I go by John, but my grandfather's real name is Giovanni. So anyway, and we talked before about why don't I go by Giovanni, and I went into, I'm not going to repeat the whole discussion here, but yeah, then we've talked about how I love Alan Tudyk's character in Powerless, who plays Bruce Wayne's inept little cousin named Van Wayne. And I love him that. So maybe I should just go by Van Campea. I like that. Merging the different topics there, ZOMG. I like that. Javier Riaz 405 writes, Thor, want to use a big wooden fork? No, yeah, not really useful. Oh, this was a great line in Ragnarok. Not really useful unless you're fighting off 3 vampires that were huddled together. Of course, well, a lot of people didn't get that joke. And of course, so this is from Thor Ragnarok. And a big one fork, no. Yeah, not really useful unless you're fighting off 3 vampires huddled together. Now, what made that joke funny, and a lot of people still didn't know this, is, of course, the guy doing the voice of Korg, who is saying it, is the director, Taika Waititi, who is most known for this little comedy, vampire comedy he did called What We Do in the Shadows. It's the movie that got him the Thor gig. And if you have not seen What We Do in the Shadows, they just launched a television version of it, and it's not bad. But the movie, What We Do in the Shadows, is unceasingly hilarious. Unceasingly hilarious. You've got to watch this movie, guys. Anyway, it's about these 4 at one point, it gets reduced to 3. These 3 vampires that live together in an apartment. And so having Taika Waititi make a joke like, yeah, not really useful unless you're fighting off 3 vampires that'll huddle together. That's so you could tell in the theater, some people went, haha, because it's a funny little joke. But then there were some people laughing their heads off. And it's like, oh, now I can tell you which people in here have seen What We Do in the Shadows. It was a great moment, and I love that reference. It was beautiful. Okay. Anthony R. writes, my prediction could be wrong about the CW Earths merging in the crossover. The future in Arrow and Flash don't indicate that Superman or Justice League are there. Yeah, true, but I wouldn't write off your theory too quick because continuity schmontinuity. Like, really. And the CW universe is not exactly something that takes itself all that seriously. And it's not like the MCU that makes continuity very, very serious. They could probably be a little fast news. Now, I'm not saying that your theory is correct, but what I am saying, Anthony, is I wouldn't write off your theory too quickly. But because time changes. Remember, in Flash, like they just had the big saying, time is malleable. right? Time can be changed. The timeline can be altered and changed. So what happens could alter what the future of those worlds are, right? In the CW, they've said that themselves, so I wouldn't write off your theory just yet. All right, Jay Beasy writes, Batman put a bomb on a guy and threw him in a hole. Well, dude, seriously. There's a video on YouTube right now called the Batman Death Counter, I think it is. Anyway, in all the movies prior to Ben Affleck playing Batman, he runs through this body count, and it's like over 40 people that he kills in the Batman movies. Over 40 people before you ever get to the Ben Affleck movie. It's crazy, and that is one of them, where he straps a bomb on a guy and throws him in a hole, and the guy blows up. Nobody complains, unless it's Ben Affleck doing it, then everybody cries a river. But yeah, over a body count of over 40 people before we ever got to the Ben Affleck Batman. Okay, Anthony R. writes, with Arrow ending, I think it's time to eventually end the CW universe. I prefer the better acting and higher production value on the DC app shows. Yeah, but why end it? They've been very successful for the CW. Why end it? No, seriously, why? Like, you got to give me a good reason why they should end. Because they maintain to be very successful by CW standards, like not by NBC standards, but by CW standards. They continue to be very successful. They get a solid viewer base. Again, not by NBC standards, but by CW standards. They're lower budget. So they're able to make these shows for lower budgets and not make them big productions. See, DC is trying to get people to sign up for this streaming app, so they got to put more money into these things. And it's great that you're liking them, but they've got to put a lot into it. The CW universe is a very different thing. I'm now out of my drink, so I'm going to have to take a break here in a second to go refill. CWs, they don't need to have... the CW shows are meant to have a certain tone, and that's been effective for them. Just because somebody else is doing something different doesn't mean that CW should stop what they're doing, right? If it works and is successful and people are enjoying it, why end? Why end? No reason to. Absolutely no reason to. Anthony follows up with, part 1. My prediction for Phase 4 is that we don't get an Avengers movie. It will just be focusing on growing the cosmic universe and more solo movies. We'll jump over Chris for now to get to, oh dear, then we have the big jump. Give me a second. Here we go. So we'll jump over Chris's question and go to Anthony part 2. Also, do you think that each phase will have its own story arc instead of a massive arc spread across multiple phases like 1 through 3 did? Well, see, here's the thing. I do think it's going to culminate in an Avengers movie, even if it takes a couple of years to get there. Because Avengers movie makes the most money. That's the movie that makes the most money for the MCU. Now, whether that takes 2 or 3 years to get to it, it's possible, but I do think it'll have an Avengers film. What it'll look like and all that kind of stuff, I'm not sure. As far as where they have a different arc, the thing is this, the first 3 phases loosely had an arc, right? But Ant-Man was very much its own movie. Black Panther was very much its own movie. Doctor Strange was very much its own movie. Yes, the Eye of Agamotto was in there, but the movie was not about the Eye of Agamotto. The movie's about Doctor Strange. Iron Man 2 had little to do with the overall story arc. Captain America, Winter Soldier had very little to do with the overall story arc. Like, it's not like the first 3 phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe were all Infinity Stones Part 1, and Infinity Stones Part 2, and Infinity Stones Part 3, and Part 4, and Part 5, and Part 6, and Part 7, and Part 8. It's not like it did that. It's not like every single movie was all about the Infinity Stones. They dropped some threads in there that then tie together to make an overarching thing, but movie by movie, they weren't treated that way, right? Really, only a couple of films you could really say play heavily into the overall story arc of the Infinity Stones, but very, very rarely and only on a very surface level. So I think you can very much do your phase for the next 5 or 6 films. You could very much do universe building, world building, all that kind of stuff, and drop little threads, just little threads here and there throughout the films that do create an overarching story, but it's, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? It's it's more like companion material. Companion is not the right word. It's another word I'm looking for. Supplemental. There we go. It's almost like it's a supplemental theme that runs throughout these stories. So I don't think it's an either or, Anthony. I think it's a both and. Chris Foster writes, the marketing so far for Endgame has been very low key compared to Infinity War. Will this subdue the excitement for the average movie audience? Meaning, could this affect the box office numbers compared to Infinity War? Yes. Yes. But we went through that a little bit earlier in the show today, Chris. I mean, here's the thing. The marketing for Infinity War excited people who never watched MCU films. We talked about that a little bit earlier by the fact that every day I would get bombarded with people saying, John, never watched an MCU movie, but this Infinity War looks awesome. What are the 5 MCU movies I need to watch before going in and watching Infinity War? The marketing for Infinity War got everybody who was already into the MCU excited, and it got people who weren't into the MCU excited and going, God, tell me which movies I got to watch so I can watch this Infinity War movie because this movie looks insane, right? Not getting that for Endgame. You're not. You're getting everybody who's into the MCU very excited, and that's important. Very excited. Super hyped. But what we are not getting is that same effect that we had for Infinity War, where people who never watched MCU films were getting excited about it. We're not getting that for this. I'm not getting questions from people saying, John, I haven't watched MCU. This Endgame looks great. I can't believe how good it looks. Tell me the movies I should watch to build up to it. I'm not getting any of those questions like I did with Infinity War. Will it affect the box office? Yes. But will it be a colossal impact? No. Is it going to be the impact to the point it's like, oh, this movie now can't make $2 billion? No, I don't think that at all. But, you know, there were some people having discussions that maybe Avengers Endgame could be the world's first $3 billion film. I think those discussions are out the window now. Because whereas an Infinity War brought in a whole new crop of people into the MCU, Endgame's not doing the same thing. Now, the reason I'm saying it's not going to be a colossal impact is because there's already a hell of a lot of people on board with the MCU. Already a hell of a lot of people on board. And it's going to make big money. Big money. You believe that. It's going to make big money and have repeat business like Infinity War did. But these trailers have not energized the casual filmgoers who may not be within the MCU fan base already, like Infinity War did. And that's just a fact. It's just a fact. I think most people would agree with that. That the way the Infinity War trailers excited non-MCU followers is very different from the way Endgame hasn't excited non-MCU followers. But it certainly has excited those of us who are. So this is a movie that's going to make big money. It's going to have an impact, but I do not believe it's going to be a world-shattering impact or a colossal failure impact or anything like that. This movie is going to make tons of cash. Tons of cash. Ungodly amounts of cash. The type of cash that Bob Iger, Alan Horn, and Kevin Feige are going to stand around scratching their balls on camera going, you're going to watch this movie even if it's just us playing with our money and with our balls at the same time. And people are going to watch. And they know it, and that's how much money this movie is going to make. It won't be as much as it could have if they took a little bit of a different approach with their marketing, but it's still going to be colossal. Absolutely colossal. Anyway, okay. Guys, I need to take a 5-minute break here to rest the voice for a second, refill my soda, and then be back and ready to go. So hold on tight. I'm going to take a 5-minute break. I'm going to pop up the old Patreon sign here, and I'll be back in just 5 minutes. Talk amongst yourselves till I get back, and I'll see you in just a minute. All right, and we are back. Thank you guys for letting me take a minute there. You know, I got to rest up the throat here. You know, somebody goes, "Oh, John, I've had conversations longer than an hour." Yeah, but conversations you get to stop and let other people talk. What I said to somebody the other day who was ranting, I think you're making a big deal out of talking that much. It doesn't take anything to talk. I'm like, tell you what, pick up a book, a novel, and for 3 hours, read it out loud, and don't just read it like this, blah, blah, blah. No, read it out loud like you're projecting and talking to an audience. And do it without stopping for 3 hours and tell me how you're doing. And to this person's credit, they could have just trolled me, wrote me back and said, they could have just gotten back to me and said, oh, I did it and it was easy. But no, they wrote me back and said, John, I did it for like 23 minutes and I had to tap out. I completely apologize. So they were really good about that. So thank you guys for your patience and your understanding as I take these little breaks to just give my voice a minute to recover for a second and refill my drink. It helps me a great deal. Okay, with all that down, let's move on and keep the questions rolling here. Okay, Anthony R. writes, part 2, wait a second. We've already done that, I think. Part 2, also, do you think that each phase will have its own story arc instead of like, I thought we did that. Wait a second, did I miss something? Oh yeah, we already did that part 2. Okay, yes, that's what we ended on. See, I'm also losing my mind. Okay, Karam Tariq writes, Batman in Batman vs. Superman was brutally branding and killing people, which was the issue I had. He delivered justice on his own, which is off-brand. Oh, listen. Branding, don't give me any of that nonsense. Do you know the stuff I've seen Batman do in the comics? Don't even go there. Oh, he brutally branded them. Just in one comic, I talk about this one all the time, but it's totally indicative. Batman, not against a supervillain, just a thug, swings through, breaks through a wall, goes knees first into this thug's chest, goes off a ledge, and then drops 2 stories with his knees on the guy's chest. And then in Batman's thought bubble, it's like, 4 broken ribs, ruptured spleen, he'll be in traction for a month. And it's like, no, he would be dead. He would be dead. Here's what the thing is. Batman constantly in the comics does things that would kill people. He constantly visits the kind of violence on people that would kill them like that. It's just that in the comics, they say they didn't die, so they can keep up this facade of Batman not killing. Look, if Batman was 100% committed to not killing, he would not commit violence against people. Because the moment you commit violence against people, you may kill them. You might kill them. Boxers have died in the ring from just being punched in the head with padded gloves. Boxers have died in the ring, right? Whenever you visit violence on somebody, you may kill them. You punch somebody in the face, you don't know what's going on with them. A solid punch to the face could kill somebody. Or you could punch somebody in the face and he falls down awkwardly and breaks his neck. You know, the only way, if Batman was 100% committed to never killing anybody, the only way he could do that is by not visiting violence on people. That's the only way. Because the moment you step into that sphere where you're committing violence against people, you may kill them, and you have to be comfortable with that. Batman does things in the comics all the time that are beyond brutal, that would easily, if that was actually done in a live action environment, that what Batman just did, that guy would have killed him. Oh, but the writers just make it so he's okay. It reminds me a lot of the old G.I. Joe cartoons, where G.I. Joe would shoot guns and missiles and blow up Cobra planes, but don't worry, it always showed the Cobra pilots falling in their parachutes. So don't worry, everybody's fine. With the old A-Team show, you had A-Team Face and B.A. and Hannibal and Howlin' Mad would be shooting people with M16 rifles, but you always saw the bad guys crawling away. It's like, so they're doing things that would kill hundreds of people, but the TV show made it so they didn't actually die, even though they did all the things necessary to kill them, they didn't do it. That's what the comics are. Batman is constantly doing things that would rack up a body count that even Rambo would be jealous of. But the comic book writers, instead of saying, hey, yeah, falling 2 stories onto the floor with Batman, a 265-pound dude, his knees in the guy's chest, yes, that would have killed him instantly. That would have killed that guy instantly. The comic book writers just go, Oh, put a thought bubble above Batman going, 3 broken ribs, a ruptured spleen. He'll be in traction for a month. No, he wouldn't. He'd be dead. He'd be dead. So don't talk to me about, oh, the brutality of Batman branding somebody. Come on. Come on. I've read the comics. You've read the comics. You know that that's nonsense. You know that that's nonsense. And yes, he killed people, but guess what? He killed people in the comics too, and he killed people in all the movies. That's what happens. When you're fighting a dozen guys who are armed with machine guns, and chances are you're going to end up killing 1 or 2 of them. That's just the odds. The odds are you're going to kill them. Maybe not all of them, but you might. And you're definitely going to kill a couple, because all it takes is 1 bullet to your head and you're done. And you're done. So anyway, and of course, Batman always delivers justice on his own. That is not off-brand. That's the definition of what Batman is. Batman doesn't follow the rules. He has his own thing, because what he does is illegal. Everything Batman does is illegal. So delivering justice on his own terms, that's what Batman has always been. If he wasn't, what he should have done is young Bruce Wayne should have then studied really hard, and then as soon as he was old enough, gone to the police academy and joined the Gotham City Police Department. If he wanted to not, dish out justice on his own and operate totally within the rules, that's what he would have done. But he didn't. Did he? No, he did not. He went outside the law. That's what Batman is. That is what he does. So, yeah, anyway, there's that. Chris Parsons writes, would you prefer Mystery Men 2 or Spaceballs 2? Mystery Men 2. Spaceballs is glorious on its own. Doesn't really need a sequel. Mystery Men, I would love to see the continuing adventures of that. So if I had to pick one, I would love both, but if I had to pick one, I would take Mystery Men 2. Murray Reich writes, how fitting the Leafs can clinch versus Tavares' former team. I will be rooting for you, John, since my devs are way out. It's a different era for the Maple Leafs now. It's a different era for the Maple Leafs now. They're not going to win the Stanley Cup this year, and that's fine. I'm totally comfortable with that. But for the first time in my lifetime, there is hope. For the first time in my lifetime, I can see a path in which the Leafs could get to the Stanley Cup in the next couple of years. I've never had that my entire life. And here we are. I'm very excited. Thank you for that, Murray. I appreciate that, man. Caleb Kaiser writes, last year I remember Fandango ticket site crash to do pre-orders from Infinity War. Do you think Fandango will be more prepared this time around? Well, it all came as a result. Remember the Phantom Menace? Sorry, I keep saying Phantom Menace. The Force Awakens. Like every ticket sales place in the world crashed. Fandango crashed, Atom Tickets crashed, AMC crashed, Regal crashed, Cinemark ticket thing crashed. Everybody's ticket sale app crashed. Now, they learned a lot of lessons from The Force Awakens. And so they still had, it wasn't as terrible as the other one, but they made a lot of improvements, and then they still had a problem with Infinity War. They won't have that problem again. Now that they've had The Force Awakens and they had Infinity War, they'll be prepared. Because they know every second that they're down, they're losing money. Because if they're down, somebody's not going to go, oh, well, I'll just wait for Fandango to come back online before I buy my ticket. No, they're going to go find some other mechanism to buy a ticket. Whether that's Atom Tickets or on the AMC website or on the Regal's web, whatever. So Fandango knows every second that they're down, they're losing money. So I guarantee, I mean, look, anything funny can go with technology. Look at all the problems I have every day. And no, Shay, do not forget Dougie Gilmour. I never really thought they could get the Stanley Cup final that year against the Kings. So I don't forget Dougie Gilmour. Anyway. Yeah, I think anything can go wrong with technology. That's why I have tech problems with my show all the time. But I really do believe Fandango is going to be fully prepared this year. Okay, Timothy Platt writes, 8 seasons with 50-plus goals for the great 8. Look out, Bossy and Gretzky. They're... I mean, no, Gretzky is so far ahead that there's no problem. There's no problem. Don't worry about it. Gretzky is very comfortable way out where he is. That's never going to be touched. It's never going to. That's not to say, look, it's an impressive feat. There's a lot of impressive things happening these days, but he's never going to catch Gretzky. Never going to catch Gretzky. Halid Cortez writes, thoughts on Mask of Zorro if you've ever seen it. Yeah, we were just talking about Mask of Zorro earlier. I liked Mask of Zorro. Let me just 100% make sure we're talking about the right movie here. Because I'm thinking of the one with, no, Antonio, too sexy, Antonio. But I just want to make sure that's the actual one I'm thinking about. Yes, that is the one. Okay, so yes. Yeah, oh yeah, I always liked it. The sequel was terrible. I remember the sequel being terrible. The funny thing is I couldn't tell you a single thing about the sequel right now because I don't remember it at all, other than I remember going, this movie sucks. But I did like the first one a lot. Anthony Hopkins was great in that. Murray Reich writes, as I was complaining to my friend about Endgame runtime, he sarcastically said to pee in cup. That's possible. But who wants to be in a movie theater where somebody's pulling it out and pissing in a cup and filling the theater with a smell of urine? Otherwise, it's something I would probably do myself. Michael Bradley writes, Thor being brought back to life by Mjolnir in the first Thor movie is a great superhero moment. Oh, it's a wonderful moment. It's a wonderful moment. And then they just copy and pasted that same moment in Infinity War with Thor laying on the floor dying and then Stormbreaker flies to his hands. So that was a little bit of a ripoff of its own self, but it was a great moment. It's like, yeah, but again, fake death, but like, yeah, very exciting moment. I love that first Thor movie, Michael. I could talk about that first Thor movie all day. My opinion, second most underrated comic book film of all time, only behind Man of Steel, which I think is the most underrated comic book movie of all time. Anyway. Timothy Platt writes, also, do you think whoever comes out of the East is the runaway favorite to win the Cup this year? Sure looks that way. No, because remember, they always would say that kind of stuff. Like even back in the NBA days, remember when the West is still stronger than the East by a mile. But, you know, there was always this thing, the West has been way more dominant than the East in the NBA for decades. And yet there are a lot of years where an Eastern team won, right? So, no, I don't think it's necessarily the case. I do not think this year that is necessarily the case because it always plays out so differently. And in a 7-game series, who knows? In a 7-game series, who knows, my brother? All right, Mark Blaza writes, as a late bloomer myself, I can really relate to the journey of Steve Carell's character in The 40-Year-Old Virgin, from the fear of talking to girls, etc. Side note, man, the wax scene in 40-Year-Old Virgin. So 40-Year-Old Virgin to me is my all-time #1 favorite comedy. It will sometimes share that #1 spot with Noises Off with Michael Caine, John Ritter, Christopher Reeve, Carol Burnett, blah, blah, blah. Brilliant film if you haven't seen it. But 40-Year-Old Virgin is my all-time favorite. That is one of the greatest moments in movie history to me, is the wax scene. And when you watch the documentary stuff on that scene, like they just did it for real. And when it was so funny that Judd Apatow actually decided to keep in some footage of like Paul Rudd and Damoni and Seth Rogen, like just laughing hysterically at what was happening to Steve Carell. Like that was a little bit out of character, the way they were, because they were not laughing in character. They were laughing as themselves. And Judd Apatow thought it was so funny, he included that in the cut of the movie. And it is, Kelly Clarkson. It is one of the funniest like there are some moments in films that you just laugh so hard you think you're going to pass out from lack of air. That was definitely one of them. And I'm not going to lie to you. That's one of the reasons I related to it to a lot too, Mark, is because like I definitely look. I have never been good with women, ever. Like all the women I dated and stuff like that was either we were set up, or the girl made the first move and initiated the idea of us going on a date together, right? Like always from there, because I am horrible with women. Like, God, I never want to have to date again. I never ever want to have to date. It's funny because Ann and I were talking about that. It's like, you know, like something crazy happened, whatever, and you found yourself single again. It's like, God, can you imagine trying to date today? I'm like, no. I'd be like a fish in a boat, just flopping around. That's me trying to be, I was awful. And I think that's part of the reason why 40-Year-Old Virgin appealed to me so much. And that was part of it. But yeah, man, that moment, that line, that time in that movie, so freaking funny. So freaking funny, man. Chris Parsons writes, what TV comedy did this line come from? Did you know 90% of the time when a woman gives birth, she takes a poo-pee? I challenge today's viewers. I do not know, but it sounds hilarious. It sounds like something that would come out of a number of shows that I would watch, but I do not know what that one is. So guys, if you know which one that is, jump into the comments section and let him know. I'm going to keep a half an eye over on the comments just to see if I can see that come up. But that was from a TV show, not a movie. Good question, Chris. Okay. Moving on now. Eric DeRiggi writes and sends in a really nice super chat. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that, man. Thanks for supporting the channel on that level. And of course, to everybody, to everyone who has supported the channel by sending in super chats today. I saw Batman when I was 10 in 1989. Even I knew he killed only in self-defense. Yes, it was shocking to see that. However, I'm from the generation that saw Optimus Prime get killed. Yep. So I grew up and knew what was really going on. And there are a bunch of people too. There are a bunch of people too who, like today, they grew up watching Batman the animated series, right? And in the Batman animated series, like you can do that in the animated series. You could do that all the time. You could say whatever you want to. Oh, I won't ever kill, and you can just animate it to make sure he never kills anybody and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a little bit different. But sure, like seeing Batman kill people, and in that 89 Batman, Michael Keaton's Batman killed fools in that movie. He absolutely did. So yeah, it is. And you're right. We were the generation that kind of grew up in a world where Optimus Prime died. I'm still so mad at that movie. I know this is going off on a rabbit trail, but dude, that Transformers movie, I'm still pissed off at Hasbro to this day. That was such a FU from Hasbro to all the kids that had grown up loving and supporting their brand. That was a giant FU. Not because they killed Optimus Prime. That's fine. You want to do something stunning and surprising and shocking in your story sometimes. Killing Optimus Prime was definitely one of those things. Definitely. But they didn't just kill Optimus Prime. They killed every frickin' buddy. They killed everyone. Hey kids, you love all these Transformers? Well, guess what? They're all dead now. Now you get to buy our new Transformers. Isn't that great? Pissed me off. Even this, I'm just getting mad just thinking about it. Pissed me off so much. But you're right. We are the generation who was jaded by the fact that we saw Optimus Prime die, Eric, and it's affected a lot of things along the way, including how we maybe view the Batman stuff. All right. Thanks for writing that in, man. Mason Hawking writes, can you bring back Buy or Sell to the John Campea Show? I miss it. I can, but I don't know. I think, I don't know for sure, but I think another place I used to work may still do that. And if they do, then I don't want to do it. I mean, it's just, and that's fine. Hey, that we were doing it on that show. If they continued it on, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I'm not poo-pooing on it, but I think they still do that. And if so, then why would I want to do it too? But I do kind of like Buy and Sell. I like Buy and Sell, like over under. I like, I'll bring something back. I'll come up with something. Melvin Rosa writes, loving the show. It takes me down memory lane and reminds me of movies I need to watch again and some that I have not but need to. Thanks, John Campea. Well, thank you so much, Melvin. Yeah, it's great talking about movies because it's not just talking about the movies that are out right now. And that's great. It is great and fun to talk about the movies that are out in theaters right now that we can go and see right now and enjoy and have fun with and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely. But it's also great talking about movies when movies get brought up. They're like, oh yeah, I never saw that. I've had that happen where people have written in, like over the past couple of years, people write in, and pardon me, and I go, oh yeah, that movie. I never did get around to seeing that. And it reminds me to go check it. Or people bringing up movies that I'd forgotten about that I had seen and forgotten. It's like, oh my God, I used to love that movie and I haven't even thought about it. That is another one of the great things about getting together with film fans and just talking movies. And I love it. And it's great talking about the movie news. And I love that, talking about current movie news, yes, but it's also great when we can get stuff suggested to us that we haven't seen, or we get brought up, movies get brought up that we haven't seen forever and we've forgotten about, and it encourages us to go back and check them out again. That is one of the great things about having movie discussion with fellow film fans, and I completely agree, Melvin. And thank you for sharing that, man. I appreciate that. All right. Marco Cuenca writes, your thoughts on Mark Hamill voicing Chucky? I've already addressed that a couple times. Actually, not all that excited about it. It seems kind of gimmicky to me. Gimmicky and shtick. Feels like shtick and gimmick. And I'll watch anything that Mark Hamill's involved with. This one seems like an odd... I don't think he should do it, but hey, that's just my thought, whatever. Baby Boy 8603 writes, over under 40%, we get an image of Scar from 2019's The Lion King in May. Well, May we're getting close. And that's like over a month away from now. I'll say this, yeah, I'll take the over on that. I'll take the over 40% that by the time, by the end of May, we will see what Scar looks like. Whether from a character poster or a brand new trailer or a brand new TV spot or something along those lines. I do believe we're going to have, by the time May ends, we're going to know what Scar looks like. That's what I think. Over 40%. Over 40%. I'm not saying 90%. I'm not saying 100%. If you're setting the line at the 40, I think that's a good line. I will take the over on that. All right. Angus Dustagear writes, hey, John, rewatch The Nice Guys. Love that movie. It's so good and so much fun. Could you see it getting a sequel, or will the low box office prevent that? No way. No studio's going to greenlight a sequel. And that, how much, it's going to depress me to look it up. Hold on a second. The Nice Guys. This movie was fabulous. So good. The movie made $62 million worldwide. This should have been a $400 million movie. I'm not going to exaggerate and say a billion or anything. Nice Guys should have been a $400 million movie. That movie is awesome. Pure awesome. It's exciting. It's fun. It's hilarious. Great performances from Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe. It's magnificent. It is a great movie, and nobody supported it. It just became another one of those things when people cry, Hollywood doesn't make original films anymore. First of all, yes, they do. Secondly, when they do put them out, you don't go watch it. Because Nice Guys came out, it's original, it's fun, it's super entertaining, it's got a great plot, it's got wonderful performances, it's just a great movie, and nobody freaking went to go see it. 62 million worldwide for a movie that freaking good. It pisses me off, frankly. It gets me really mad that a studio puts money and marketing, Warner Brothers put it out, by the way. Warner Brothers gets behind this movie, they fund it, they support it, they put it out, and nobody went to go support it. Pissed me off. Such a good movie. And then we cry, oh, Hollywood does too many sequels and Hollywood does too many reboots. Because when they frickin' put out great, fabulous cinema, we don't go support it. And it's not like Nice Guys is some high artsy film that people wouldn't get. It's a good, entertaining movie. Nobody gave it a shot. And to this day, for the life of me, I don't know why, because that movie's awesome. That movie's awesome. So anyway, sorry, I got a little worked up there, Angus. Okay, but yes, no one's going to greenlight a sequel to that when all it made was $62 million worldwide. Hell, no. No, that movie lost Warner Brothers a lot of money, and it sucks that it won't get a sequel. Eric DeRiggi writes, I wish you could lecture my students about what if questions for their 5th grade writing state assessment Florida essay. Well, hey, man, just take a clip from the John Campea Show, bring it on in there. John Campea, here to educate the children of tomorrow. That's what I think I'm here to do, Eric. Anyway, thank you for that. Ulatan just sends in a super chat. Thank you, Ulatan. Appreciate that, man. Baby Boy 8603 writes, do you think Disney Plus will also have Disney's 90 cartoons? For example, DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, etc. Good question. I would think, my guess, I have no idea whether the answer to that is yes or no for sure. My guess, though, right now, would be that if they don't launch with it, then it'll only be because they have contracts for the rights to belong to other distributors. but eventually they will all come back to Disney Plus. So my guess is if they don't launch with all this stuff, they will eventually all be there. That's my guess. I think they're going to try to load this channel with all the content they can. And yeah, I think eventually you're going to see it there. Even if it doesn't launch with it, I think eventually it'll get there. Okay, D Kid writes, I'm super late, but I just watched Godfather for the first time last night, and that opening dialogue from Vito was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Dude, I am actually jealous that you got a chance to watch The Godfather for the first time, because that is something I will never in my life be able to do again. It is one of the most influential, one of the most important, and one of the absolute greatest motion pictures in the history of mankind. And a lot of people will debate, what's the greatest movie ever? Either Godfather 1 or Godfather 2. And for a lot of people, that's the debate. Now, I'm not saying it's the greatest movie ever, but that is a solid opinion held by an awful lot of cinephiles, that The Godfather may be the greatest movie ever made. And the fact that you just got to see it for the first time is incredible. Dude. And one of the neat things about people who see Godfather for the first time is that all of a sudden they have this light bulb go off where they realize, oh my God, almost every movie I've ever watched in my life was directly influenced by this film. Because you see in this movie all these different, oh, I just got a notification from CinemaCon saying you can now register. Don't worry, CinemaCon, I'm coming tonight. I'll register later. Although I'm already registered. Where was I? Yes, Godfather. You watch The Godfather and you realize, oh my God, so many movies and television shows and everything have taken from The Godfather. And it's true. That's why I will always say Godfather is one of the, if maybe not the most influential movie ever made. It's crazy. You got to watch it for the first time. That's amazing. I'm jealous. Okay. Dennis LeCampt. Oh, you sounded out for me there. Dennis LeCampt. Anyway, okay. Dennis LeCampt. I probably butchered it anyway, even though you took the time so thoughtfully to hyphenate it out for me, and I still probably butchered it. But Dennis LeCampt. I'm going to stick with that one for now. Thanks for all you do. Sent you a non-movie related question to your old question email. Didn't think it was appropriate for the show. I will keep my eyes open for that. I haven't looked in, again, I don't look in my email box for the John Campea Show on the weekends. I wait till Sunday night. So maybe when I get to Vegas, I'll look at it, but I will open it up, keep an eye open for it, and I will look for that, Dennis. Thank you very much for sending that in. All right. Mads Jada writes, movie made by an auteur with a strong vision versus team compromise. Neither. It all depends. It's either or. Look, ultimately, even when you have an auteur with a strong vision, it's got to be collaborative. You have teams of people that you need to work with and rely on, and you need to listen to people around you. A lot of times, you know, a great example of an auteur with a strong vision who refused to listen to anybody else is M. Night Shyamalan. There's a great story, a true story, Hollywood story about how when M. Night finished his final draft of the script for Lady in the Water, one of the all-time worst movies ever in history, Lady in the Water. But he finished the script for that, submitted it to Disney because Disney was distributing his films at the time. One of the presidents of production had dinner with him. You can look this up. This is the story as it goes. And she expressed to him some concerns. You know, like, hey, do you really think it's a good idea that you cast yourself as the writer whose writing is so great it saves humanity? Do you think that's a good idea? And hey, do you think you should do this? And hey, do you think you should do that? And he was so angry that anybody would dare question him. He stormed out and vowed that he would never work with Disney again. Okay, fine. Of course, that movie came out, sucked. All of his other movies that came out after that sucked, all that kind of stuff. And we went very quickly from people saying, is M. Night the next Spielberg? To being his name became a laughingstock. You know? I still remember being in a theater and remember that movie, I think it was called Devil? And he was just a producer on it. And in the trailer comes up and says, from producer M. Night Shyamalan. And as soon as it said that, the whole theater started laughing. Started laughing. Honestly. No hesitate. I mean, no exaggeration. The audience laughed when his name came on screen. He went from that to that because he believed he shouldn't listen to anybody else. It should only be him and him alone. And that's what happened. Peter Jackson, Steven Spielberg, Christopher Nolan, they all have teams of people that they work with that they respect and trust and listen to. Now, at the end of the day, they follow their vision and they do what they think is best, but they come to what they think is best by listening to the opinions of people they trust around them. And they take everything they say, weigh it, and then make a decision about direction, stuff like that. That's what they do. Another great direction of a guy who just had to answer to nobody was George Lucas by the time it came to the prequels. Like when he made the original trilogy, he was still a collaborative filmmaker. But when it came time for the prequels, he didn't listen to anybody because he didn't have to. He was paying for everything himself. He had nobody to answer to. Nobody was allowed to say no to him. And you watch all the behind the scenes stuff. So whatever George asked for, nobody could say to George, that might not be a good idea. Why don't you? No, nobody could say that. Everything was yes, George, yes, George, yes, George. And I think ultimately that's kind of led to the prequels being the prequels. It's a bad situation. So I don't think it's a 100% either or, Matsiff. I think it's a beautiful gray area in between. I believe in auteurs with strong visions, but the best ones of those are ones who collaborate with people that they trust and they listen to, and they help that guide and let that help determine their direction, their vision. It's not either or, it's a little bit of a both and. So that's the way I kind of see it. Anyway, Guy Volt writes, the day is almost here where you sit in your seat hearing the opening music for the Marvel logo. You think to yourself, this is reality, counting the days. It's something I call the tangibilization of it, right? Like when they said they were actually now shooting Endgame, it became more tangible, more real. When we got the first trailer, it became all the more real. But the final step is when the tickets go on sale. When the tickets go on sale and you've actually booked your ticket, you've reserved your seat, that is the final and ultimate level of tangibilization. It's actually happening. It's here. And then you go into that theater and the screen comes up with the Marvel logo and you're like, oh my God, it's happening. Like the first time you were taking your shirt off because you're actually really about to have sex this time. Not that awkward first time where you took your shirt off thinking you were about to have sex, and then she looks at you like, what the hell are you doing? And you realize, oh, this is not going to be my first time having sex. And they're very awkward. No, it's like that time that you realize this is going to be the first time I'm having sex, and you get overwhelmed with that incredible joy and that incredible rush and that incredible feeling like this is the greatest thing ever. That is what we're heading for in Avengers Endgame, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming. It's coming. Okay. Suthius85, who sends a really nice super chat. Thank you so much, Suthius, for supporting the channel. Writes, hey, Mr. C, the only decimation that really struck a chord with me was Bucky's. He's the first we see to dust. He looks at his hand and you can just hear the confusion, fear and uncertainty in his voice when he says, Steve. Yeah, no, it was a great, and it reminded me a lot too of when Drax dusts. He just looks up at Peter and says, Quill? And like, yeah, you're right. It was a mixture of fear and confusion for a lot of them. Like even Scarlet Witch, where no words were spoken, but Scarlet Witch, as she's sitting over Vision and she's starting to dust, and then she looks up, and as she looks up, she tries to take one last gasp of air and disappears. And you're absolutely right. It's that fear and confusion all rolled into one. And it's like, these people who are warriors, they're not, it's not even a foe that they can fight. They're not falling in battle. It's just standing there, and completely outside of their control, they start to die. And there's nothing they can do about it. It's not an enemy they can fight off. It's not like they're against all odds, but they can overcome the odds. Nope, nothing they can do. They've been selected by the snap, and they're just going to die. Powerful, powerful stuff, man. And it was kicked off very well by the Bucky shot, and kind of capped off really well by the Spider-Man shot. Not including Nick Fury's and then him dusting. Well, that's the real cap off. But yeah, man, it was a very powerful scene, and it kind of set the stage for all the dustings we were about to see. And it was strong. Made a little less powerful by the fact that we know that Marvel's all about killing and that they're all coming back. So it made a little bit less powerful, but still beautifully orchestrated, beautifully set up, and it was kicked off beautifully, you're right, by that Bucky scene. Absolutely. All right. Dirk Walker writes, I have too much respect for Hulk to believe he wimped out in Infinity War, so my theory is Hulk was afraid of the threat he himself would pose to human life if truly driven to max rage by a worthy opponent. Nah, I don't buy that. Look, and Hulk didn't wimp out. In the Infinity War director's commentary, the Russo brothers explained that it wasn't a matter of Hulk being afraid to come out again, which I thought it was, and I thought it made perfect sense. Hulk kicks everybody's ass. Even when the fight's close, nobody wants to fight Hulk. He's Hulk. He wins. Ultimately, he'll always win. Even in that fight against Thor and Ragnarok, if that fight was just allowed to continue, eventually Hulk wins that fight because he's Hulk. And then against Thanos, he truly got his ass kicked. And that's never happened to Hulk. Not even against Abomination. That's to just be so thoroughly manhandled. The way Thor beat him, it's like a bully, right? I'm not saying Hulk's a bully, but think of it in terms. A bully's a bully till the bully gets punched in the face. And when a bully gets punched in the face, they turn tail and run because they don't. It's the first time somebody stood up to them. They don't know how to handle this, blah, blah, blah. And I always kind of thought that made sense for Hulk, right? That Hulk, who is just Hulk, strongest there is, right? And he gets his ass whooped by Thanos. It would cause a lot of questioning of himself, right? But I was wrong. The Russo brothers in the Infinity War director's commentary point out that, no, it's not that. It's just that Hulk is now done. He is tired of being treated like crap and being, looked at as an embarrassment. That Banner looking at him like he's some sort of disease. But, oh, Hulk, we're in trouble. You should come out now and save the day, when they're constantly crapping on him. And what the Russo brothers said was, Hulk's had it. He's had enough. No. Oh, you want me now that you need me? Now that you're in trouble? Oh, now you want Hulk around? No. And that's what they said. And I find that fascinating. I find that really interesting and really fascinating. We'll see how much they actually play into that when the movie comes. But I think that's going to be a big thing for Hulk's storyline in Endgame. About Bruce and Hulk coming to some sort of understanding. And I think Nat being in mortal danger, Widow being in mortal danger, is going to maybe play a part in that. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. But they're setting up some really interesting stuff with Hulk, that's for sure. Jay Meister 25 writes, over under 30% we see Grandmaster in the MCU again. Ooh, 30%'s a good line. Because I would say it's lower. It's a lower chance, but 30%'s a low number. They did not only put Grandmaster in the post-credit scene of Thor Ragnarok, but then they did that little MCU short where, what's the name of the guy that they did those short little videos with Thor was somebody's roommate? What was that guy's roommate in New Zealand? Remember, Thor and this guy were roommates, and I can't remember. Let's just call him Ted for argument's sake. I can't remember his name. But anyway, then they made another one with Grandmaster became that guy's roommate, right? So they used him in the post-credit. They went back to him for another short film. Because of that, I will go out on a limb and guess, now granted it's only a guess, I will take over 30%. I will take over 30%, not necessarily 50%, so I'm not saying it's likely. But Daryl, you guys in the chat board let me know. David Loisel is saying Daryl. That's right. Daryl was Thor's roommate. So Daryl became then Grandmaster's roommate. So he's still there. I don't know that these shorts are canon, by the way. But anyway, I will say there's an over 30% chance. I'll take over 30. The Andy X Show writes, plus Tony lost Peter Parker In reply to Richard. Oh, yeah. So going back to Richard Cruddy was saying, you know, Tony doesn't have any motivation for fighting just because Pepper and Happy didn't die. Yeah, but how about 3 billion other people? But you're right. Peter died in his arms. So that a kid that he was kind of taking responsibility for. That's a great point, Andy. That's a wonderful point. That's a very, 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 very valid thing to bring up. So that goes in that conversation as well. Good point. All right. Fryapan90 writes, also, Tony saw Peter die right in front of him, going back to what was just said. Tony saw Peter die right in front of him, and they kind of had sort of a father-son relationship, so he definitely has reasons to fight in Endgame. Absolutely agree. That's a really good point. I should have thought of that, too, when I was bringing up my other reasons. Koa1708 writes, do you think Marvel will start the trend of movies having misdirects in trailers? I don't know about that, because very, very few movies are in the situation that an Infinity War or an Endgame are in. You know, very few movies are coming out where it's like the 20th film in the franchise that has had a 10-year build-up to this. So it's not like you're comparing apples to oranges, right? So I don't know. Like, certainly in Rogue One, there were a lot of shots in the Rogue One trailer that were not in Rogue One, right? There were. So it's not like Infinity War is the first movie to do something like this, not in the least. But again, I can only see it starting a trend if you have comparable movies. What other movie would be comparable to something like this? An 18th, 20th, 21st, 22nd film in the franchise that's been building up to this particular event film for like 10 years and blah, blah. I can't think of any other films that really have that sort of context. So, no. And again, Koa, I would say, let's not kid ourselves into thinking that that Infinity War is the first trailer to come out that had misdirects, whether it's intentional or not, because there have been a lot of movies that put things in trailers that aren't even in the movies. So I don't know. We'll have to see. But again, it's only an apples to apples conversation if we start to see other movies that are in the same context of Endgame, and those are very few and far between. J Meister 25 writes, the reason haters came up with for arguing Captain Marvel would fail make me want to tear my hair out. It's beyond stupid. Oh, I know. But, you know, J Meister, I think we're finally at the point where most of the Captain Marvel, and when we say Captain Marvel haters, we're not talking about the people who saw the movie and just legitimately didn't like it. Because Captain Marvel's a movie. That means some people are going to watch it and not like it. Perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. There are people who watch and don't like every single movie that comes out. That's perfectly fine. That's being a film fan. Some films we like, some films we don't. So when I talk about Captain Marvel haters, I'm not talking about the people who just watched the movie and didn't like it, because there's nothing wrong with that. But you know, we're specifically talking about the people who developed an agenda and mounted a campaign of misinformation, a campaign of lies, and a campaign of hate, all because they had a political agenda and they didn't like something that one of the actresses in the movie said because it didn't fit with their political agenda. And so they started this whole campaign to try to make this movie fail and paint it in a certain light, and they failed. Spectacularly failed. Fine. I think we're past talking about it at this point. Look, they know they took a loss on that. They know that they failed to try to make Captain Marvel. I still have this ridiculous theory that all of the controversy actually helped the film. I think all the controversy actually got more people invested in the movie. And there's even a part of me that thinks that Disney knew that that would be the case, and these people who mounted the hate campaign knew it was the case. And I actually have this weird little theory that those people are actually on Marvel's payroll. I think maybe Marvel paid these hate campaigners because they knew deep down it would actually help the movie's box office. So I'm calling it right now. Those people that were launching and mounting this big hate campaign against the Captain Marvel movie before it ever came out, they were on Marvel's payroll. They were getting paid by Marvel. I think they were on the take, and I think they did it knowing full well that all this fake controversy was actually going to help the movie cross the $1 billion mark. But anyway, that's just me. But you're right, but a lot of the arguments were stupid and dumb and whatever. But again, make sure, though, that we understand that there is a difference between the people mounting a fake rage based on false information and political agenda campaign against Captain Marvel. There's a difference between that group of people and a group of people who watched the movie and just didn't like it. There's a difference between those two groups. Like, anybody who didn't like Captain Marvel is not a Captain Marvel hater. They're just like a normal film fan who went to a movie, watched it, and said, I didn't think that was very good. I go to movies and watch movies and go, I didn't think that was very good. That doesn't mean I'm a hater of the film or that you're a hater of the film. We always got to remember those are two different groups of people, and we shouldn't just assume that because somebody doesn't like a movie, that doesn't mean they're one of the haters or one of the people who try to mount a campaign for political reasons against it or anything like that, right? We always got to make sure there's a difference. So just because we hear or see somebody say, hey, I saw Captain Marvel, I didn't like it, let's not lump them into that same category with that minority of people who are trying very hard to mount a negative campaign against it. So always understand those are two separate groups of people. Keep that in mind. All right. Timothy Platt writes, man, the thing in Shazam, oh crap, still can't talk about it. Feels like I saw it forever ago. Hurry up, April 5th. Dude, that's the one thing I said, Timothy. When I came out of Captain Marvel, or Shazam, I should say. When I came out, sorry, we were just talking about Captain Marvel. When I came out of Shazam, the one thing that bothered me was, I had to say to my wife, I said, the thing that bothers me is I got to wait 2 weeks now till I can see it again. Your movie's pretty good when your biggest frustration with it is that you got to wait 2 more weeks before you get to sit down and watch it again. And that was my biggest frustration. But it's just 1 more week away, and then we're going to be able to see it again, and then we can all talk about it. And again, 1 week from today, so next Sunday, 1 week from today, at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we will have our Shazam spoiler discussion. We'll have our big open spoiler discussion for Shazam. Make sure you guys come and join us then. Okay, with that down, let's move on here. Merc sends in a couple of super chats. Thank you, Merc. Appreciate that, man. Lee Mallinson writes, if idiots now conspire to downvote movies on Rotten Tomatoes, how long before they book abuse A-list to book a film's box office without attending? I don't know what you mean by that. Because if they're trying to make a film fail and they book a theater with A-list, then that movie gets credited for a $9 ticket purchase that helps the movie's box office. So I'm not sure how that would help their cause. And by the way, guys, like, I had booked on A-list going to see Dumbo with my wife, and we realized we couldn't go because she wasn't feeling well. So make sure, guys, if you ever book with A-list and you can't go, do make sure to jump on the A-list app or the AMC app and cancel your reservation so that somebody else can go and get that seat. Just make sure you're courteous for other film fans. So I made sure I canceled my reservation so somebody else who may have wanted to see Dumbo that night, in case the theater was full, there's an empty seat there. Now they can see it as well. So make sure you do that. Yeah, but I'm not sure how that would help their cause. I'm not sure how that would help their cause in trying to hurt a film by buying tickets for it and helping its box office. You know what I'm saying? So I might be missing your point, which happens. Let's face it, sometimes I miss people's point. I might be missing your point, but I don't think that works out. Funboy writes, I love you, but can't get my lady to. Sorry. That's fine. That's fine. If your lady doesn't love me, then that puts her in the company of a lot of ladies. Let's be honest. I'm not a ladies' man. So there you go. But that's okay. That's okay. I'm happy that you and I can sneak around behind her back. Take that innuendo as you will. Okay, next up. J. O. Wyant writes, hey, John, I know you have a weakness for father-son relationship movies. I really do. Did you like Real Steel? Oh, I love Real Steel. Love Real Steel. And actually, the opening song of Real Steel, it's called All My Days. I have been standing here, sitting in the shade, all of my days. It's the opening song for Real Steel. and I love it. And I've been trying to learn how to play it on guitar for the last couple of weeks, and I'm having a really hard time because it's a beautiful song. I love it. Real Steel with Hugh Jackman and why am I forgetting the good Canadian kid, the actress from Lost, who is in Ant-Man and the Wasp? Why am I freezing on her name? She's a Canadian kid. I should know her name easy. And anyway, I'm freezing on it. Anyway, so Real Steel is wonderful. It's one of those films that you look at and you think, that doesn't look any good. And then you sit down and watch it and go, wow, that was great. I love Real Steel. And for the life of me, I don't know why they never did a sequel. I don't know why they never did a sequel. They really should have. I know the movie didn't make an ass load of money, but I thought it made enough that you could have made a sequel. It was heartfelt. Had a lot of really great emotion, and it was exciting, and it was entertaining, and all that rolled into one. I love that movie, man. I love Real Steel. And by the way, the great Sugar Ray Leonard, I actually got a chance to sit down and talk with, the God on earth, Sugar Ray Leonard, about this movie. He actually did the fight choreography for all the boxing. And isn't that amazing? Anyway, if you haven't seen Real Steel, guys, because it looks bad, and I agree, it does look like it's bad, but it's really good. Check out Real Steel when you get a chance. Okay. So, throat's starting to get sore, guys. Suthius85 writes, one of two. I know that the stones affect the fabric of the universe, time, and space. The opposite could also be possible. Say the team does go back in time or try to change reality. I would think that would notify the stones. The stones being currently with Thanos. There is a possibility he somehow warns his past self to acquire stones more quickly. Well, first of all, Suthius, thank you for sending super chats and a number of super chats today for supporting the channel. Thank you. Honestly, friend, I think you're reading way too much into it. I think you're going way too deep into it. Now, maybe you're not, but I think you're going way too deep in it. That the stones have a consciousness that are aware of themselves throughout different streams of time, and the Avengers go back, and so the stones warn the present stones, and then those present stones warn Thanos. I don't know. I don't think I can get on board with that. Now, I'm certainly not going to say that that is a 100% impossibility. I'm certainly not going to say that. But it does seem like a really big stretch, and the sort of thing that I think would turn an average movie audience off. So I don't think so. Look, never put anything past Kevin Feige and the Russo brothers. What did I just drop? I dropped something. I heard it bounce, but I don't know what it is. Never put anything by the Russo brothers or Kevin Feige as to what they may pull out of their pocket, what surprise they may come up with. But that notion, I think, is stretching it way too far. You're getting into some really nerdy stuff, and I just, which can be great, but I just don't think that sounds like something that would alienate a lot of average moviegoers. I think that would alienate a lot of them. And I think that just goes a little bit too far. So I'm not expecting to see it, but again, never say never when it comes to Kevin Feige and the Russos, because they are capable of pulling out one that we did not expect and we didn't see coming. So I'll say that, but really for the most part, if I had to put some money on it, I would say, nah, that's probably going a little bit too far and reading too much into it and stretching it a little bit too far. So I don't think we're going to see that. I don't think so. But let's find out. Less than a month till we find out, dude. Less than a month. Okay. Anyway, next one. Marie Ciphering writes, "Oh, Retina, I wish you would have knocked." Oh, Renata. Oh, great moment in Winter Soldier. Oh, Renata, I wish you would have knocked. And that poor lady had to die. She was just coming in to make sure he was okay, and he killed her. It was a great way to reveal him as the villain as well. That whole scene where Bucky is in his home, wants some milk, and they have that conversation. Then Renata, heartbreaking, but a great way to reveal him. Not only as the villain, but he's also a jerk. It was a great way to reveal both of that. Why not just say, this is my buddy going to a Halloween costume? Why not just say that? What's Renata going to tell people? Anyway, killed Renata. Poor Renata. Avenge Renata. That's the next poster. Avenge the Fallen. Somebody make an Avenge the Fallen poster with Renata. Renata. Anyway, Robert Johnson writes, over under 50%, Hulk defeats gloveless Thanos one-on-one. I'm going to take the under on that, but oh my God, if I'm not going to piss myself with excitement if they actually do it. I'm not expecting it. I don't think it's going to be in there. But I think there's a chance. You're setting the number really high at 50%, so I'm going to take the under on that. But oh my God, urine-soaked blue jeans, ladies and gentlemen. Urine-soaked blue jeans if we get to see Hulk fighting Thanos one-on-one again with Hulk going full rage. And Thanos without the Power Stone. I want to see it. I don't think we will, but there's a chance. And urine-soaked blue jeans, ladies and gentlemen. Such a stench. Okay. Luke Blackwell writes, John, what do you think of Pacific Rim 2? I try not to. It's terrible. It's terrible. And really too bad, too, coming off that first one, which was so enjoyable and so much fun. They just really ran that into the ground. Just a bad movie, man. Such a shame. Such a disappointment. Okay, Jeff Henderson just sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Jeff. Daniel Luna writes, throat's starting to go. The Russo brothers confirmed Thanos was caught off guard by Thor in the end of Infinity War. Well, sure, he was caught off guard. Wasn't expecting him, but he still saw him, and he still gave him a full blast, and Thor took him out with one shot. Guess who else caught him off guard? Hulk. Hulk caught Thanos off guard. That didn't seem to matter much either, did it? So he saw him, had time to let loose an Infinity Gauntlet blast, and Thor's Stonebreaker cut through it like butter. So caught him off guard, great. But he was caught off guard many times. He was caught off guard by Spider-Man. He was caught off guard by Iron Man. He was caught off guard because, remember, Doctor Strange says, you'll find our will is equally strong. He goes, our will? And then boom, they drop that. So he's caught off guard many times in the movie. Still kicked ass. And he certainly didn't get blindsided by Thor. He saw Thor, Infinity Gauntlet energy blast. That should wipe him out. Thor instead takes him out with one shot. All right, Robert Johnson writes, Fandango has unavailable Endgame showtimes. Yeah, because the tickets aren't on sale yet. That's probably all that has to do with it. Robert follows up with over under 50% Justice League 2 by 2024. Ooh, 2024, 5 years from now. Oh, okay. Now now you're getting into a possible length of time where we maybe could see an Avenger or a Justice League 2. I'll tell you what, though. I'll tell you what that movie will not be called. It will not be called Justice League 2. It might have Justice League in the title. It may have Justice League in the title, but it ain't going to be Justice League 2. It'll be Justice League, The Fight for Themyscira, or it'll be called Justice League, Justice League, The Attack of Apocalypse, or something along those lines, right? But it will not be Justice League 2. Of that, I feel pretty... But by 2024, see, now you're getting... We know that Warner Brothers is not interested in team-ups and all this kind of stuff and shared universe stuff right now, but 5 years is when you're starting to get to that realm where it becomes possible. You know what? Just on a whim and on a pure guess, I'll say over 50%. That by 2024, we'll either get a new Justice League movie or they'll at least have announced a new Justice League movie. Not an 80% chance, not a 90% chance, maybe not even a 70% chance, but I will take the over 50% that we will get something by 2024, because that's getting 5 years out. Eddie Burton writes, heard Sherlock Holmes 3 takes place in Old West and starts production in January. Any truth to that report? I have not heard anything. Other than the fact, I don't even think they've officially announced who a director is yet, have they? I don't even think we've gotten 100% confirmation on who's directing this thing. So it's hard to say. But I mean, in the West, we've seen other movies do that, start one way and then take it into the West. That's a possibility. I don't want them in the American West. I'd rather see them in London, but hey, whatever again, I don't know. I haven't even heard who's directing it yet. So let's wait and find out. You know about as much as I do right now, Eddie. All right, Jeff Henderson writes, what if worms had hand grenades? What if worms had bang grenades? Then birds, then he follows it up, then birds wouldn't F with them. That's good. I like that. That's funny. Okay, Dim-Sum05 writes, instead of what if, remove the what and ask the question again. Does it make sense? Example, what if, I don't know what Guardians, I don't know, what if GC was cool versus if GC was cool? See, nonsense. You'd still have to throw a question in there. Because to say, what if that car was blue? You'd saying, if that car was blue, and like you still have to follow that up, right, Dim Sum? I think you still have to follow it up. Javier Rios 405 writes, have you seen Happy Death Day to You? What did you, I didn't. It came and went pretty quick. It flopped terribly at the theater, and I have no idea why, because I heard it's really good. And I love the first one. I love Happy Death Day. It was a wonderful surprise little film for me. I enjoyed that far more than I thought I would. But I just never got around to seeing it when the second one came out. And then it flopped really hard and disappeared from theaters pretty quick. So I still got to see it because I heard it's great. So my throat's really rough right now, guys. We're at 2 hours and 45 minutes and counting. Anyway. I'm going to try to keep going here. I never had a chance, and I still want to see it, though, because I love that first one. Jin Yuichi writes, quote, wherever I go, the wind follows. Oh, that's, is that, I might be mistaken, because if it's not him, he said something close to it. I think that was Noir Spider-Man from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I could be wrong, but I think that's Noir, the Nick Cage Spider-Man from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I think. Tell me if I'm right or wrong, guys. All right, Santez Henderson writes, over under 1%, Cap dies in Endgame because he retires and spends 30 years eating chips and pizza and does nothing with himself like I do on weekends or like I do 7 days a week. Yeah, they defeat Thanos, and Captain America just goes, wait a minute, you mean, okay, Thanos is defeated. I don't have to run 8 miles every day now? And I've discovered these delightful things called Doritos? And I can sit down and binge watch Umbrella Academy and Battlestar Galactica in my underoos? And then then it shows 30 years later, he looks more like me and he dies. That's very possible. I'll take over 1%, Santaz. I'll take over 1%. All right. Andrew Hogue writes, meant yesterday, would you rather see Man from U.N.C.L.E. 2 or Nice Guys 2? Oh, I don't remember the exact question, Andrew, but ooh. Because everybody knows I love Man from U.N.C.L.E. I thought that was great. I thought Armie Hammer was wonderful. I thought Henry Cavill was fantastic in it. I love that movie. I'm going to say this. Nice Guys was the better movie. Nice Guys was better than Man from U.N.C.L.E. But Man from U.N.C.L.E. is designed to be a franchise. You know what I mean? Like, it's designed to have the ongoing adventures. Now, Nice Guys certainly had it open-ended for a sequel, yes. But Man from U.N.C.L.E. is kind of like meant to be a franchise. So, while I think The Nice Guys is the better movie, if I could push a button to get a sequel greenlit right now, it would be Man from U.N.C.L.E. 2. And apparently there's whispers going around that they're going to do another Man from U.N.C.L.E. movie. Whether they actually pull the trigger on it or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I would love to see that. All right. Suthius85, right? Suthius85 writes, just a little FYI, Mr. C. The ands you see in some of the viewers' name handles, just a way of writing Asian. I honestly, I might be completely oblivious here, Suthius, but I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what we're talking about. So I'm probably just overlooking something. Obviously, you're pointing something important out, and it's just going over my head. Sorry about that, Suthius. Thank you for trying to be informative, and I'm just missing the point, which happens sometimes. Robert Johnson writes, I heard stories about Marvel and DC sending comic writers to spy on one another. I like to tell myself that Kevin Feige sent James Gunn to spy on DC. Okay, there's a book I keep talking about called Slugfest, the 50-year-old battle of DC and Marvel. And it's fabulous. Actually, I found out about it because one of you guys on a show wrote in a super chat to tell me about it. And I got the book and I love it. It's fabulous. If you guys haven't a chance to get it yet, get the book, get the Audible audio version, get it on your Kindle, whatever. It's a fabulously informative read called Slugfest, the 50-year-old battle of Marvel and DC. And yes, in that they talk about there was spying going on in that era between Marvel and DC. It was happening, and there was some juicy drama that went on around that kind of stuff. Now, of course, though, if you're looking at that today, why would Kevin Feige need to spy on DC, right? Marvel was so far ahead of DC. I mean, there would be no, so no. I do not believe, Robert, and I know you're probably just being facetious anyway, but I do not believe there was any spying going on of Marvel on James or on DC at the time. There was really no need to do that. Nicholas Glenn writes, what software do you use for your live streams to put borders around you guys and graphics and switch between the shows up on screen? Well, there's several pieces of software I use, and I've talked about this in some videos before. I've done some behind the scenes videos. I make all my graphics in Photoshop. Actually, Ray made this one, like this border you see around me here with the John Campea logo right here. Ray puts this border together for me. We make those graphics in Photoshop. Then what I do is I bring those graphics into a piece of software. Now, there's many different live streaming. A very popular piece of live streaming software is OBS. OBS is kind of limited. It's great if you're a video game streamer, but it's a little limited for other things. I use a piece of software called Wirecast. And Wirecast is the software that I use to bring everything together and bring in all my graphics, bring in my video sources, bring in all that kind of stuff, and stream it out to YouTube. It's a very powerful piece of software, and it's not horrendously expensive. Like, I think you can get it for like $700, $600, $700, and then there's a more pro version you get for $900 or $1,000. But I have like the $600 or $700 version. It works great for me. Now, granted, you got to have a pretty hefty machine to run it. Well, I mean, no, you don't need a hefty machine to run it. You don't need a hefty machine to run it, but you need a hefty machine in order to do a lot of the stuff that I do. Because what I do is I have like multiple sources coming in. I have like tons of graphics, video clips at play, 3 different people on screen in different configurations. And so it gets very system intensive. So if you want to do the type of stuff that I do, you can do it. You just need to have the right software, and then you need to have a beefy enough computer that can handle that kind of stuff. Because I know my last computer, it wouldn't be able to do the things that I do on the John Campea Show now. Because it would like max out my processors. I was constantly seeing my processors like 80%, 90%. So I had to upgrade my machine, and now it handles it much better. But yeah, the software you're looking for, not to make your graphics, but to bring all your graphics in. And then, of course, you got to have the right mics, you got to have the right cameras, you got to have the right lights, all that kind of stuff. But as far as the software goes, make the graphics in Photoshop, bring them into Wirecast. That's how I do it. But there are other ways to do it. Other people do it different ways. Nicholas Glenn writes, best/easy software for green screen videos. Premiere. I don't know if, Premiere, if you know how to use Premiere, it's pretty easy. So just shoot yourself in front of the green screen. Make sure you light it properly. That's a big mistake a lot of people make. A lot of people think just put up a green screen and shoot yourself in front of it. Light the green screen. There are lots of YouTube videos on there how to properly light a green screen. Make sure you light the green screen. And then when you bring it into Premiere, Premiere will have a much easier time getting you a really good key. A key is the pulling out the background and just having you in front of it. Premiere will have a much easier time. So honestly, the best way to do it, I think, is just Adobe Premiere. That's the way I've done it. Pedro Brissan writes, hey, John, I would like to know your opinion on the upcoming Uncharted movie, if it ever actually happens. I would like to see it. I hope it happens. They've cast Tom Holland to be in it, but we've heard really nothing about it since. So let's just wait and see if it actually happens. Robert Johnson writes, I wish John Wick 3 cast Carrie Ann Moss over Haley. Hold a second here. I keep forgetting the name of her character. Hold a second. Wick 3. You don't want Catwoman in there? Sophia. Halle Berry is playing Sophia. Why, Robert? Why? Here's the thing. You haven't seen the movie yet. Carrie-Anne Moss may have been the worst person in the world for it. Halle Berry is an Academy Award-winning actress. So, like, give me a second, guys. So, you haven't seen the movie. You have no idea what this character is like or what's required. What's to say you're not going to see this movie and go, oh my God, no, Halle Berry was perfect for it. Right? You haven't seen the movie. So why would you say, oh, I wish they cast this person? Why? For all you know, she could have been the worst person in the world for that movie, right? And even if you're just going on an apples to apples comparison, Halle Berry's an Academy Award winning actress. So I disagree. I will disagree with you on that one, Robert. 100% I'll disagree. Chris Hamilton writes, I just started sending in super chats recently, but I have been listening since the days you were accused of causing Jamie Alexander the Wonder Woman role. Remember that? Keep up the great work. Oh, I do. Oh, remember how stupid that was? Yes, I do remember that. For those of you who don't know what he's talking about. So Jamie Alexander did this. She came on, who played Lady Sif in the Thor movies. And then she's got that movie called, that TV show called Blind Spot, which I haven't watched this season, but the first couple seasons were actually really quite good. Anyway, Jamie came on my panel, and she did a panel that I did at Los Angeles Comic-Con. At the time, it was called Kamikaze. They've changed the name to Los Angeles Comic-Con. Anyway, she was on my panel, and two things happened. One, behind the stage, she told me something that I thought was really cool, but I couldn't share with anybody. Then when we got on stage, Jamie shared with the audience that she has been talking to DC, right? And obviously this is before they cast Wonder Woman, and there was some discussion that she was in talks for Wonder Woman, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she talked on stage herself about the fact that she talked with DC. The video's available online. You can see the video yourself. Anyway, so I mentioned that I had mentioned on the show, it's like, man, if you thought what she said on stage was cool, she told me something that was really cool behind stage. I can't share, but she told me something really cool. Anyway, then ultimately, the role for Wonder Woman went to somebody else, and some person started this theory that I cost Jamie Alexander the role of Wonder Woman because I let it out that she'd been talking to DC. And it's like, first of all, I don't have that kind of power. I like to think I have that kind of power, but I don't. But secondly, it was Jamie who talked on stage about talking to DC. It wasn't me. It was her talking on stage. It had nothing to do with, but anyway, yeah, there were some people who had this theory that and by the way, her talking about it on stage herself also did not cost her the role. That had nothing to do with it whatsoever. But you know how some people are. When some people want to attack you. You know, here's the funny thing. I've got to be doing something wrong lately. Because for the last number of years, I've just been accustomed that people are very, very obsessed with me. And they like to make videos about me and about my opinions and the thing that I say. And they love making, and some of them, they just make up pure bullshit while they do it, but whatever. But I get a kick out of that. I love that. I love that I am so important that there are other people who are so obsessed with me that I'm just some loser sitting in a spare room shooting a YouTube video. But apparently I am so important that people make videos when I say something they don't like. They got to make a video about it. And if they got to make some stuff up, then they make some stuff up. But whatever. And I, quite frankly, I think it is the coolest thing in the world. I think it's the greatest thing in the world. Because it just lets me know, like, hey, I am clearly important enough that you got to talk about me, but you are not important enough that I got to talk about you. But there's something awesome about that. Anyway, and I won't lie, maybe it's a little macabre-ish, but there would be some nights that I would sit down and just search YouTube for my own name just to see if people are still making videos about me. Even if it was to slag on me, I still got the biggest kick in the world out of it. I just thought it would be hilarious, and I would look it up, and I would like kind of I admit it's a little dark, but I would get a big kick out of finding people who are so obsessed with me that they would make videos about me, not about movies, they wanted to talk about me. And I got a big kick out of it. And I've always thought to myself, it's a really good sign that I'm doing something right. When I guess I am so important, people got to make videos about me. I've got to think lately I've been doing something wrong because I have not seen many lately. I have not seen many lately. And that, quite frankly, is a little disappointing. It's a little bit disappointing. So I'm like, it's funny because I was talking to Ann the other night. It's like, man, I think I'm doing something wrong because I'm not seeing people making these response videos to thing I say anymore. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? But anyway, so it's actually made me start to think maybe I should just make some shit up. Maybe I should just make some shit up to purposefully try to elicit and trigger people into making videos about me because they are completely obsessed with me. And when they stop being obsessed with me, I feel rather lonely, actually. But yeah, I gotta think, Chris, I've been doing something wrong. I gotta think, Chris, that lately I've been doing something wrong because nobody's making these videos anymore. It's like, damn it, why not? Make more. Because it only increases my viewership and it's really gives me a big kick to see that people are doing this. But anyway, I must be doing something wrong. I'll figure it out. I will correct my mistake. Whatever mistake I've been making recently, I'll correct it and we'll get back to the way things should be. But yes, Chris, I do remember that. And thank you so much for being a viewer and a listener. Oh God, ever since those days, man, I really appreciate it. All right. Where are we at here? Dhruv Bardwaj writes, should I see Endgame in IMAX and Dolby? Look, it's all, your mileage may vary. It's up to your individual tastes and preferences. If you're asking me, my personal thing is Dolby. Dolby, the dual laser projection, the incredible Dolby Atmos sound system, it's just the better viewing experience. Plus, you're in big, thick leather reclining chairs, blah, blah, blah. My opinion, I take Dolby 8 days a week on that. But again, it's up to your own particular taste. You may prefer IMAX, but if you're asking me, I go Dolby. All right. Fine Wen writes, when Robert mentioned that theaters dimmed their bulbs to save money, that made so much sense. I felt like the image quality was off for some screens. You know what? I would seriously, that infuriated me. Now, luckily, I go to a theater that has this laser projection system that they don't worry about bulbs, but if I were going into a theater, I would seriously go up to a box office, ask for a manager, and say, look, I'm thinking about buying some tickets to come see movies at your theater. But I've been reading reports that a number of theaters are purposely dimming the bulbs on their projectors to save money, and it takes away from our viewing experience. Does your theater do that? Tell me on the record right now. And I'm just going to let you know, if you do that, I'm taking my business elsewhere. So what is it? I would seriously ask that. Because, yeah, that stuff that Robert was talking about, that is infuriating. Infuriating? That made no sense. It's infuriating. That stuff Robert was saying was infuriating that happens. That is unacceptable. And I would seriously ask any theater that I'm thinking about giving my business to, do you guys do this? I want to know if you do this. Tell me the truth. Do you guys do this? And if they did, say, okay, that's your right to do it. But just so you know, I'm taking my business elsewhere because you guys do this, because that's unacceptable. Anyway, Lee Mallinson writes, I lost Lee. Where did he go? Okay, Lee Mallinson writes, will the Iron Man character endure or just RDJ's portrayal? I'm uncertain if audiences will be as invested in an unknown if an unknown is recast in a gritty take. I think so. I think so. I think the Iron Man, look, everybody thinks actors are irreplaceable until the actors are replaced and the world keeps spinning, right? Now, Robert Downey Jr. was born to play Iron Man. He was born to play Tony Stark. And he's done a ridiculously good job. He does a ridiculously good job at it. But yeah, I absolutely. Yes, you can. If you write the character well and get a talented performer, known or unknown, the world will keep spinning and Iron Man will go on. You know, there are people say you can only have Tobey as Spider-Man. And then Andrew Garfield came in and did a great Spider-Man. And then Then they got Tom Holland, and Tom Holland came in and played Spider-Man. And guess what? If Tom Holland disappeared tomorrow, decided to give up acting and move to Tahiti and drink, Mai Tais on the beach all day, they would get somebody else. And if they got somebody good and they wrote him well, we'd love that character too. The world, I know it feels like what we know is all there can be. But really, you can replace the actor. Not ideal to, it's not ideal. But if you need to, you can replace the actor and the world can keep spinning. And yeah, there's that. Anyway, One Titans writes, best movie of the year will be John Wick. I doubt it. John Wick 1 nor 2 have been the best, like in the conversation of best movies of the year for me, although they've been great. I really like them a lot. I highly doubt it. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe we'll go into John Wick 3 and come out and go, that is the best movie there has ever been. I mean, it's possible. I doubt it, but it's possible. Let's wait and see. Although I do know I cannot wait to see it, One Titans. All right, Alan Gonzalez writes, I think we will see Captain America and Iron Man die, but it will be a different universe or timeline. Yeah, it's possible. Like, I am not cool. I don't like the idea. Well, I am just not cool. I should have ended the statement there. I'm not cool. I'm not cool. I'm pretty boring, actually. Anyway, I'm not cool with the multi-universe stuff and timeline stuff. To me, that's so cheap. It's a get out of jail card. Get a jail-free card, and I find it to be really cheap and kind of annoying, to be honest with you, but it is what they do, and it's a little bit infuriating. Hey, guys, listen. My voice is running out here. I know I'm not going to be able to go much longer. I just know I'm not going to be able to go much longer. So what I want to do is we've got a bunch of questions here left. I want to make sure I get to them. So I'm going to ask you guys, please do not send in any more super chats. I'm going to just try to set up a graphic here to be really big and obvious. Here we go. So yeah, I'm going to ask guys, please do not send in any more super chats because I don't think I'm going to be able to. I'm going to try to finish the ones we've got right now, and then that's all I'm going to be able to do. So please, no more super chats. I'm going to try to finish off if I can because my voice, I'm running on fumes right now with my voice. So hopefully we'll get to them here. Okay. Robert Johnson writes, over under 50% Endgame will be like Groundhog's Day. In what way? That it'll be funny? That it'll be a repeating timeline? That Bill Murray will... I'm not quite sure what it is you're asking. Like, that it'll be like Groundhog's Day in what way? Are you talking just about a time loop? Are you talking about going comedy? Are you talking about reliving the same day? Are you talking, like... I'm not quite sure what it is you're asking, but if you're talking about a time loop, I'm going to take under 50, although I wouldn't take under 10, but I'll take under 50 on that, if that's what you're talking about. Storm Chaser 78 writes, best MCU, Captain America, the First Avenger, best 80s action, Terminator, best of 2012, oh, you're talking about the ones we did, best of 2012, besides the Avengers, Trouble with the Curve. Really? I didn't mind that movie. I never would have thought of that one, to be honest. I mean, I don't mind that movie, but that's interesting that you picked that as your top. 2002 most underrated, Dread. Hope your Anne had a happy birthday. She did have a great day yesterday. So what Storm Chaser is referring to is that the 3 episodes of our podcast, Best Movie, Worst Movie, so far the 3 categories have been Best and Worst of the MCU, Best and Worst 1980s action films, and Best and Worst movies of 2012. Those have been the 3 topics we've done so far. So thank you for sharing that's a really interesting one that you threw in Trouble with the Curve. That's interesting. All right, thanks for sharing that, Storm Chaser. Jared Murray writes, they aren't trying to get non-MCU fans excited. They made Endgame for the fans. Also, there's no way you could watch it without seeing Infinity War. Well, Murray, that doesn't make sense. Because you could get people excited in this movie and then tell them, just got to go watch Endgame. There were lots of people who never saw an MCU movie who asked, hey, this Infinity War movie looks good. What do I got to watch to be able to be up to speed and watch this? Great. Then you just give them a list of movies. They went off and watched them. Then they were ready when Infinity War came out. So with Endgame, you could just say, hey, maybe watch Guardians 1, Civil War, and Infinity War. If you watch those 3 movies, you won't be 100% up to speed, but you'll be up to speed enough that you'll be good for Endgame. They make all the movies for the fans. But you're also always cognitive that you're trying to gain new fans at the same time. So this whole, I gotta reject this notion that this whole thing of, they're making this one for the fans. Well, they make all of them for the fans. They're all made for the fans. And make it good enough and appealing enough that you also bring in new fans as you're doing it. It's not an either or, it's a both and. Infinity War was made for the fans, and it was marketed in a way that brought in new fans. Endgame is made for the fans, but it's not being marketed in a way that would also bring in new fans. It doesn't have to be an either or, it can be a both and Infinity War was a perfect example of that. It was made for the fans, but also good enough and marketed in a way that it brought in new fans. You can do both. You can do both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It's not like, oh, if you try to market to get new fans in, then you're not making it for the fans. Yes, you are. Infinity War is a great example of that. So I disagree, Jared. I respectfully disagree, my brother. All right. Max North writes, chances Regal announces a movie card at CinemaCon. I don't think so, because CinemaCon isn't a place for theaters to make announcements. Now, it is possible, but it's not really for the theaters to make announcements. It's there for the studios and for other vendors to pitch their stuff to the movie theaters. Like, the movie theater owners are the audience. Like the 6,000-7,000 people going to CinemaCon, they are the people who own and manage and run all the movie theaters in North America. It's up to these technology vendors and these movie studios to come and pitch their stuff and announce their stuff to the theater owners, not the other way around, right? So it's possible. It's possible, but I'm not expecting it. But I do expect them to make an announcement like that sometime this year. Edward Idle writes, the Batman was a clone of the Shadow in terms of inspiration. He was quite violent in his early stories and even used firearms. Yeah, there was a time when Batman actually used to carry around a gun. Until Whitney Ellsworth declared he swore them off. Great show, sir. Thank you. Yeah, if you go back into the history of Batman, there's a lot of twists and turns with the character as far as that stuff goes. And he goes through different phases as well. It's an excellent thing, Edward, and the history of it is really, really interesting. And a little bit of that history is actually covered in Slugfest, the 50-year battle between Marvel and Disney. A little bit of that is covered in there, too. So it's good stuff. The good stuff, Edward. I appreciate that, man. All right. Diamond Fear and F writes, I've seen Captain Marvel again and just realized how foreshadowing dinner scene is. Rambo working for S.H.I.E.L.D., light up like Aunt Carol, be back before you know it. Okay, here's the thing. I can't discuss that. I can't go into what I think that means and all that kind of stuff because we'd be getting into spoiler territory, and we cannot openly discuss spoilers yet on Captain Marvel until it at least comes out on home video. Once it comes out on home video and has been out on home video for a little while, then we can be more comfortable talking open spoilers, but I can't really address. I'm not saying I don't agree with you, because I do, but I can't say why I agree with you and where I might say there's a few other details we should keep in mind about that, but I can't go into those because we're getting into spoiler territory. So I'm sorry about that. I really, really am. I'll just say in general, though, I agree. In general, though, I agree. So thanks for sending that in, Diamond. Okay, Storm Chaser 78 writes, normally I just send some super chats, but now I just joined up to be a Patreon. You and your staff do a great job. Keep up the filthy. Thank you so much, Storm Chaser. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you and everybody who's been a Patreon supporter. You guys have been the backbone of what we've been able to do here, and the reason like Ray and Jonathan get paychecks and stuff like that. Thank you so much for not only also being a contributor in super chats, but for also being a Patreon supporter. I admire you guys so much and appreciate you so much that you guys don't just watch content you like. You guys decide to support the content that you like. And I deeply appreciate that for all of you who send in super chats and who are Patreon supporters, and especially to you guys who do both. Thank you so much for supporting the content you like and making it possible for us to continue to do stuff. Now, if you can just get me some kind of miracle super soldier serum that I can inject into my voice to make sure it doesn't die as I'm doing things, that would be wonderful, Storm Chaser. Look into that. Thank you again, man. Factual Opinion writes, Hulk wanted beef, so Thanos fed him hollows. Hulk wanted beef, so Thanos get. You know what? There's probably 10,000 people watching this that are laughing their asses off at that because it's probably really funny and it's gone right over my head. Sorry, man. Dirk Walker writes, could Marvel be saving the boom marketing push for the second weekend? Opening weekend will easily sell out with just diehard fans. I don't think so. I don't think so. You front end these things. That's the way the movie industry is now. I mean, it's an interesting idea, Dirk. I mean, it is thinking outside the box. Honestly, I don't think that at all is what they're going for or what they're aiming for. But yeah, I still believe, and I could be wrong. I'm not, again, no insider information here. This is just me as a fan purely speculating. I still kind of think we're going to get another trailer when the tickets go on sale. And I think it's going to shake the world when it does. But I might be wrong. Maybe there are no more trailers before the movie comes out. Some people have certainly suggested that, and maybe that's the case. We're going to find out soon, though. We're going to find out soon. All right. Milton Jara writes, where are we at here? Let's see. Hey, John, love the show. Thank you so much. In the first Guardians of the Galaxy, the Kree make a treaty with the Nova Corps. Do you think Captain Marvel played a role in that? I can't go into details of the movie, Milton. All I'll say is no, I don't think so. But I can't fully explain. This has actually come up before, Milton, and it's a very legit question. But I can't really go into my reasoning as why I don't think that's the case without going into some very specific plot points in Captain Marvel. Now, I think that train of thought that Captain Marvel had something to do with that, I think there are some very valid arguments to support that theory. I do. Again, I can't mention them because I would be going into some specific plot things about Captain Marvel, and not everybody's seen Captain Marvel, so I don't want to do that yet. But I happen to lean, ever so slightly lean towards no, I don't think so. But again, I can't go into my specific reasons why. I think the Captain Marvel movie connects a lot of dots, both now and for future stuff for the direction that the MCU is going. Do I think that's a specific plot point that is directly tied to Captain Marvel? I don't think so. But again, I think there are some very valid reasons for thinking. I just can't go into them because I don't want to go into spoiler territory. But yeah, it's definitely one of the predominant ways of thinking right now. There are a lot of smart people who believe that theory. There are a lot of smart people who believe that theory. So we'll find out soon enough how that all kind of ties out. All right. Robert Johnson writes, would A-list pay studios if a ticket isn't scanned? So basically, if you're an A-lister and you book your ticket with A-list, you show up and you get them to scan your code, your barcode, or maybe you print it out and they scan that. That confirms that you went to the movie. Would A-list pay the studio if the ticket isn't scanned, i.e. you just didn't show up for the movie? Oh, that's a good question. I'm going to guess no. I have no insider information on that. I don't know what the industry rule on that is, but my guess is if you don't show up for the movie, then no, I'm going to guess they don't pay the studio for that. I could be wrong, but that's just my guess. Tonka Fonda just sends a super chat. Thank you, Tonka. Daniel Rivera writes, hey, John, it would be awesome if for the intermission they cut to a Lion King 1.5 style scene with Deadpool instead of Timon and Pumbaa giving funny lines and telling the audience to take a break. Yep, you could do. I mean, this has been an interesting discussion, Daniel, for a while now about with it becoming kind of common knowledge now that Avengers is going to be 3 hours. It's kind of rebooted this whole discussion about intermission. Should movies and theaters reinstitute the intermission for movies that are exceptionally long? I think there's a lot of very good reasons why you should, and I think of no drawbacks, absolutely no drawbacks to having like an 8-minute intermission during movies that are 2 hours and 45 minutes or longer. Other countries do it and they love it. Theater, like if you go to a Broadway show or theater, they always have an intermission and people love it. It doesn't pull you out of the show. It doesn't ruin the show experience. Everybody does it and it's perfectly great. So that's interesting. Whether they should take this particular approach, I don't know. It would be cool if they did something fun and funny in there, but you want everybody to get up, leave the theater, use the bathroom, check their phone, refill your soda at the concession stand, then come back in. But it would be cool if they did something like that. Damn it. Luke Blackwell writes, John, What will come first, Avatar 2 or... I don't know what TWD is. So I'll say Avatar 2, although because I don't know what TWD S37 is. Sorry about that. Robert Johnson writes, I wanted Neo, Trinity, Morpheus reunion in John. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so a little bit earlier, you were saying you wanted to see Carrie-Anne Moss because that would complete the Trinity. I didn't even think about that, Robert. Good. That would be interesting to see. Although you didn't have to have her take Halle Berry's role. She could just have any role. That would have been kind of interesting to see. I acknowledge that. You know what? Considering the fact that they did the whole Matrix line, guns, lots of guns, in the trailer, I won't be surprised if Carrie-Anne Moss does a quick cameo. I won't be surprised if Carrie-Anne Moss does a quick cameo. Let's keep our eyes open for that. Okay, where are we at here? Jamie Oliver Hernandez Porras writes, which movie do you prefer? The Phantom Menace, directed by Steven Spielberg, or The Batman, directed by Ben Affleck? Greetings from Mexico. Well, I really would have wanted to see Steven Spielberg direct a Star Wars movie, a lot. But that movie didn't turn out so good, so I'm going to go Ben Affleck directing a Batman film. I wanted Ben Affleck directing a Batman film so badly. Now, if your question was a little bit different, and you're asking, would I rather see a Star Wars movie directed by Steven Spielberg or a Batman movie directed by Ben Affleck? I would probably go Steven Spielberg directing a Star Wars movie. But if you're specifically asking The Phantom Menace directed by Steven Spielberg, I'll take the Ben Affleck directing Batman. Spencer Smothers writes, what did Jamie Alexander tell you backstage? I'm never going to say that. Toro Zone writes, weird to see Far From Home trailer before Endgame, even though we know Peter will come back somehow anyway. Yeah, but remember, we were seeing Infinity War trailers before Black Panther came out. This isn't new, right? A lot of people forget that. There were Infinity War trailers playing online and in theaters showing T'Challa in Infinity War before Black Panther ever came out in theaters, right? So I agree, it's a little weird, but at the same time, it's not unprecedented, especially within the MCU. They've done it before. As a matter of fact, they just did it last year. Not to mention, Far From Home comes out 2 months after Infinity War, so they got to be marketing it now. So I totally get it. It is a little weird, but it's a very weird circumstance, isn't it? With Infinity War happening and the snap and everybody dusting, it does make it a little bit odd. But actually, oddly, not as odd as I thought it would feel, to be honest with you. Justin C. sends in a super chat. Thank you, Justin. The Andy X Show writes, dude, love your channel. Got mad respect for how you treat your fans. Oh, thank you so much, man. Well, listen, I do not look as people who watch my show. Honestly, I don't look as people who watch my show as my fans. I think we just love having a movie fan community. And mine is just one little corner of the movie fan community. But it's awesome that we can get together, talk about the things we love, and I just get excited about the way we get to talk to. And it's fun that we get to disagree, because you saw in this thing, there are people sending in questions saying, man, I got to disagree with you, brother. I disagree, blah, blah, blah. And I have lots of you guys writing to me to say, John, you said this in your show, and I got to disagree with you, brother, blah, blah, blah. This is what it means to be a movie fan, that we get to disagree, and we get to have these discussions, and we get to, talk about theories and just hype ourselves up for these movies that we love so much. And it's great, and I love being a part of it, and I'm honored every day that you guys let me be a part of the film fan community and join me here too. So thanks, Andy. I really appreciate that, and thank you for supporting the show. Appreciate that, man. All right. Tonka Fonda writes, hey, John, have you ever seen this little film by Keanu Reeves named Hardball? It's quite a great film. You should check it out. John. It has heart. Thanks. Hardball. I think, wait, you know what? I think I have, but I might be thinking of something else. Oh, no, I was not thinking of the right. You know what? No, I never did see that one. What, the Little League Baseball team? I did not see that. I know the film you're talking about. I was thinking of something completely different. But no, I have not seen that one. It's 18 years old now. Came out in 2001. Directed by Brian Robbins. Now, Brian Robbins is also the guy. No, I'm wrong about that. I think I'm wrong about that. No, it's a different guy. I was thinking, I was going to say Brian Robinson. No, I was thinking something completely different. Lots of things on this topic I was thinking completely different. Anyway, No Talk, I haven't seen it, but I will have to check it out, and I will keep my eyes open for it. The guy who did write it, though, also directed Norbit and Meet Dave. So, not a great... he also directed Ready to Rumble, which I did not like at all. He also directed the Shaggy Dog, which I did not like at all. Then he directed 1,000 Words, which I did not like at all. So not a great resume there. But if you say Hardball's worth checking out, then someday I will check that out. All right, Santaz Henderson writes, your voice will be with you always. Thank you. In Poor Taste Humor also just sends in a super chat to be supportive. Thank you so much, In Poor Taste Humor. I appreciate that. And with that, guys, I think that's it. We are wrapped for this installment of Open Mic. I'm sorry I had to ask you guys to not send in more super chat questions as early as I did, but I don't think I could go another 2 or 3 minutes. Thank you guys for being here and supporting the channel and joining in the conversation. We as fellow film fans talking about all these great things going on in the world of movies. So excited. Endgame's almost here. I am now going to end this show, go finish packing my bag. I just got a few things to put in there, and then head to the airport and fly out to CinemaCon. The next time you see me will be from a tiny little hotel room in a little hotel called Caesar's Palace. I'm going to go to stay at Caesar's, and I'm going to be doing my stuff from there. Now, just fair warning to everybody, though. I'm sure my internet, which is never all that good in hotels, even in great hotels like Caesar's Palace, I'm sure the video quality is going to be questionable. I'm sure I'm going to have some technical problems, but I am going to be broadcasting and telling you guys all about everything I see going on at CinemaCon. I'm excited for it. Robert's going to be joining me as well. He's flying out a little bit later tonight to join me in Vegas. I'm already going to be there all set up. Can't wait to talk to you guys from there. That will do it for me, guys. Thanks so much for being here. My name is John Campea, and until Vegas, bye-bye.